Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan, Chris,
And Lee.
I can't get used to this. You've changed the table around and we're all the right way around now and things are in the right order and
we're a lot
it's
closer.
weird.
It's comfortable, though, isn't it? Isn't it cozy?
Yeah. Cozy's one word for it. Sweating my tits off is another word.
Well,
Another phrase, even.
It's a bit warm in here tonight.
it's right wham.
Although if you open the window just for a second, everyone will get the sound of motorsport.
I bet they won't. These mics won't pick that up.
I'll give it a try.
Leah's gone to the window, and there are no
And
cars
there's
racing.
no motorsport going on at the minute. As we're still backing onto the stock car circuit,
Yeah.
where there's lots of turning left and turning right because the race ran both ways.
Manx NASCAR.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
yes
much.
a car, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing negative about that, is it?
One other thing there's nothing negative about was that was a great race yesterday in Austria.
It was.
It was,
It was
Yeah.
good.
It was a good. No, it was a good test. I like this because I was whinging a couple of podcasts ago about drivers protecting cars and teams constantly protecting cars. All right, okay, maybe it wasn't the all down to driver skill, but I mean we had a great test of vehicle endurance, and the big boys who were supposed to walk the race failed. They had failures, you know, and. What else can you say? You know, everybody had issues.
Well, everyone was having issues with the tyres because nobody actually thought that the track was going to be 20 degrees hotter on race day than it was for practice and qualifying.
Well, I have a theory about that. The people who had problems.
Yeah,
with their,
the sun came out and
No.
everything got warm.
no, the people who had problems with their rear tyres because Max Verstappen didn't. People who had problems with their rear tyres were the ones who were running wide at turn one and hitting that sausage curb. Nobody else was having problems. Only the ones who were pushing too hard into turn one.
And following. I think that might be another big one. Why
Yeah.
Max wasn't following anyone for a large
Yeah.
part of the race.
Yeah. And anybody he did come up against, he was just waved past.
I've seen like a lot of people going on about how good the race was. I thought it was very good. I thought it was very entertaining. But I don't think it was like a great race.
Coming to after Canada, anything where there's overtakes and an unpredictable result is good.
Yeah,
but-
it's not just the overtakes, it's not just the unpredictable result. It's like 10, 20 laps from the end. You still didn't really know who was going to win.
Yeah, I mean,
And that to me is...
I think that was built up a little bit by the commentary, though, and because you were looking at the lap counter going, and I was looking at the time between Max and Kimi, and I didn't think Kimi was going to get him before the end of the race.
Red Bull had turned his engine down after Ricciardo went.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and the but the thing was like I know there was blistering on his back tire, but the only way Kimi was ever going to catch him is if his tire went like off the cliff.
Yeah.
And I think I couldn't help but feel that the Sky commentary team were making excitement where there wasn't excitement for the last 10 laps.
I think we were doing that ourselves because we were watching the times and the gap was falling and falling and falling.
But yeah,
And
but
yeah,
not
I'm nowhere
but
near
but
fast enough.
No, but the thing was, it would drop and then come up and equalize again. So he was only taking like not even a tenth out of him by the time it had all equalized itself. Because it looked,
in the closing laps, the gap went from 7 seconds to just over 3.
yeah, but it hung at 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did
it's-
hang at 3. Yeah,
And it's the thing was, it looked like it was coming down more with it being such a short track until they'd both got round the past the start finish
Traffic.
straight,
Yeah.
and then it was all
yeah,
fair
exactly.
again.
Yeah,
No,
Although-
I'm gonna carry on having enjoyed that.
yeah.
But, oh no, I enjoyed the race, but I think the calling it a great race is overkill when it was only an interesting race because of failures. It wasn't a good race because of racing.
Thumbs up for Austria, though. That worked all right.
Yeah.
And the extra DRS zone, I thought we might have a case where, much like the French Grand Prix, it was too effective. It wasn't. It kept cars pretty close. The ones that were having battles.
Yeah, I think a lot of the cases with the extra DRS zone, the cars that were in front were getting DRS as well when it came to lap traffic, because with the circuit being that short, you're going to come up on a lap car pretty soon, and of course you can get DRS from a car that you're about to lap, and that kind of helped it not be a multiple overtake zone. I think Charlie Whiting said when they announced the third DRS zone, it's not going to be a Mario Kart circuit. It's just the fact that he used the term Mario Kart circuit I loved.
Yeah, and also you had lapped cars. As soon as they were lapped, they had a strong, because of how much of the circuit was DRS. They had a strong chance of being in a DRS detection zone.
Yeah.
So then they themselves got DRS for a little bit. If it was only just down one straight, it didn't matter. It helped them
Apart
out
from
as well.
Lance Stroll, who decided that he wasn't going to be lapped and wasn't going to let, was it Perez through at one point? Ended up with a 10-second penalty and 3 points on his licence for not obeying blue flags for an entire lap.
Oh, well done, Lance
Missed that
Stroll.
one.
That only came out this morning.
Oh, yeah, but
Sorry, late last night.
somebody else was getting blue flags, and it was Grosjean. Grosjean was lapping somebody, and he radioed in and said he's not letting me through, and his engineer got back to him saying, he said, "We're on to the team. The system is down."
Oh, that was Gasly.
Yeah.
And it was only Gasly's onboard onboard blue flag warning that had failed, so they had to take care of it manually. He wasn't getting the warnings on his steering wheel.
Right, because it just with it saying the system is down, I took that
More
for
than
granted.
one
It was more
driver.
than one driver.
No,
and it wouldn't surprise me for Williams to make a fuck up like that.
No, Charlie Whiting came out afterwards and said there was an issue with the blue flag signal in Gasly's car during the race, but it was specific to him and was not an issue with
Right.
any of the other systems.
Okay, no
So
worries.
that's why they were onto the team, and it was just his system that.
Do you know
had gone.
what? It's a real shame that, because I thought Stroll drove a good race, and I'm not saying we were premature in judging him, but I am surprised how he's took care of
Sirotkin?
Sirotkin. He has took care of him as well.
This should have been Stroll's debut season.
Well, no, because if it was his debut season, he would have done as bad as he did last year.
Well, no, because it had moved up from F3 to possibly a year in F2.
Maybe.
And kind of gradually eased himself into going faster rather than.
I think the problem's a team. That's his problem now, is the fact that the car's not there. I think he's done enough to. I think he's done enough to warrant being in that car at the minute.
Yeah.
That is damning with faint praise given how the car is.
No, but it's just to have his drive is what I mean. He deserves that drive he's got, regardless of the funds that have gone into it. Because I really did expect Sirotkin to be like a second down the road from him most of the time.
He doesn't seem to be. Everyone, I've had about sort of 3 messages from people saying the jury's still out on Sirotkin, and it must be hard for him.
I think it's hard for both of the Williams
Yeah.
drivers.
I've got an F1 drive. Oh God, the car's crap. It's not meant to be.
Yeah,
You'd expect that if you were coming into a Manor or a Sauber up to the end of last season.
So if you were Verline,
yeah.
But pretty much, yeah.
But I mean, people have come into crap cars as a way into Formula One, all the way through time. I remember,
But when the car's not expected to be crap, that's the thing.
yeah, but I mean, you could see it happening. It's not like he hasn't come into Williams this year and not seen what's been going on with it.
I don't think anyone expected it to be this bad.
No, no one expected it to be this bad, but nobody expected them to be up in the midfield.
I don't know. They were making noises about advancing last year, but
Yeah, they never did it. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Remember, I've been saying this for fucking ages that Williams have been flattered by other teams for a long time. But I mean, like I say, people have come into crap cars all the way through Formula One. I remember a certain Spaniard that came into Minardi and did reasonably well in the Minardi.
Mark Genet.
Yes.
Danny Ricciardo's first drive was in an HRT.
Yeah. I remember there was an Aussie guy as well. He had his first drive in a Minardi and he did pretty well too.
Yep. Yeah, well, he scored points in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I'm sad to see Williams in this state.
Yeah, it's
Weekly.
shit. It is absolutely shit to see where Williams are.
Anyone who's been watching Formula One for as long back as maybe the last 20 years, when Williams was still competitive,
Can you
it's
say
sad.
22 years for Lee's benefit?
22 years then, yeah.
Yeah, since 1996.
Yeah.
That do you?
Yeah. The last, all right, 25 years, nearly 30 years, the Williams have been competitive for. Well, that's when they were competitive. Anybody who remembers that or has seen that or has knowledge of it should be feeling a little bit downhearted that Williams are in the position that they're in. But we've seen it happen before to Brabham. We've seen it happen to other teams, and it's happening to them and McLaren at the moment.
It's all right. There's an alternate reality where BMW stayed with Williams, didn't destroy Sauber for the first time, and Montoya's a 5-time world champion.
That's IndyCar. Isn't it?
But in classic 3 legs 4-wheel style, should we start from the back and look forward, even though we've kind of
I
demolished
think we've
Williams?
just done
already?
Williams.
Yeah. They
Well,
weren't
I
the
think
worst team, though.
I was going to say, I think there may be more to say about Williams during the course of the race, but yeah, starting from the back with a double DNF Mercedes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hydraulic and gearbox failure for Valtteri Bottas.
Yes, and fuel pressure for Hamilton. General lack of, how shall we say it, VSC and pit stop strategy awareness.
We see Mercedes do this a lot, though, don't we?
Props to James Vowles for coming on the radio and publicly admitting it was his fuck up.
I think what they needed to do at that point of the race was get Lewis's head back in it. So
Yeah.
whatever it took to do that, and if that's an engineer going in front of the whole world audience and saying, "I screwed this up, but you're a good enough racing driver to overtake 3 people."
Yeah. There was a lot of smoke blown up his ass during that conversation.
I don't know that it was necessarily the engineer that screwed it up either. It was just, I think, just the timing of the VSC. I mean, the dash, it came on Hamilton's dashboard before the penultimate corner, and Mercedes would have had to just make that decision there and then.
Yeah, it would have
But
been.
they didn't. They
would
had
have been
a-
a fairly split-second decision.
They had a conversation, and by the time they had the conversation, Hamilton had passed the pit entry.
and the VSC had been called off again.
Yeah. And
If the VSC lasted 2 laps,
Yeah.
he would have been fine.
And then
Yeah.
let's think about this for a second.
Basically, Toto said they had half a lap to react, and they didn't.
Yeah, well, no, but think about it. If Lewis comes in, changes tyres, an unscheduled pit stop, nobody else comes in, Lewis is last, then how does Mercedes look?
Why did you call me in?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we do, but we have seen this from Mercedes before, where there's been a safety car and they haven't quite reacted on it quick enough. The
Or
amount,
they've
the
been
amount
in
of times, the amount of times you've heard Lewis come over the radio going, "Why didn't you bring me in?"
Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
you know, it's not an isolated.
Yeah,
incident.
but then you also get him going, "Why did you bring me in?"
yes, this is true.
When all the cards aren't falling in Lewis's direction, he makes Grosjean sound not whingy at all. Basically,
I don't think you can complain. I don't think you can take a shot at some guy that had the race regardless. If you take the failure out, because obviously no one knew that was going to happen. He had a nailed on win, like a cruise to
Yeah.
the line. Now, if he's
No, we're
not
not-
upset by that, if he's not upset, he's in the wrong job.
yeah. This is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Lewis, when he's behind the wheel, his heart is firmly on his sleeve, and if it doesn't go the way that he has planned it out in his own head,
Yeah.
he wants explanations, and he
I
wants,
don't
and
even
he
think
wants
it's
to know
that.
why.
I think it's when things go wrong that are outside of his control that seem to be fuck ups from the team. That's not about what he's got in his own head. That's about the team not being quite as on the ball as they should be on the ball. Red Bull had nothing to lose bringing their cars in. Red Bull are always the team to roll the dice on a strategy, and that's why Lee's made more money betting on Red Bulls than anybody else, because they are the team that if you look and there's like a Red Bull 5th and 6th, you think, yeah, these are the races Red Bull can pick off now.
That's a podium, or at least.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like Sauber last year, where they always did the weird strategies because they weren't going to get in the points if they did the normal strategies.
Yeah.
Red Bull aren't going to win if they stick to the same strategy everyone else is doing.
Or react
So-
to someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with the gap between them and whoever's the 4th best team
Yeah.
that weekend, they can normally afford to take a bit of a risk, and they won't lose a place. They'll lose 30 seconds or something.
Yeah, or it's the case of if they take the gamble and it doesn't work, they might lose a podium from where they were.
Yeah.
They might lose a 3rd place. But when it goes right, they win a race. Or if it wasn't for Ricardo for Ricardo's failure, that would have been a 1-2.
Which would have looked pretty good at the home race.
Would have done.
Yeah, no, I mean, this isn't me having a go at Lewis
No,
Hamilton in
I'm
the
not,
slightest,
just-
but
yeah.
you know, he will be straight on the radio and he will be asking the questions and
Yeah.
why. And in a lot of ways, that is good.
I
Because
think it's interesting.
I think he wants everyone in that team to put everything into it that he does. And I don't know. Is he trying to take on too much? Because I think there's some people that may see it as he's trying to tell experts in other fields how to do their job.
I think anyone that's listened to this podcast for any length of time, I don't dislike Lewis Hamilton. I hope he wins the championship this year, but I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fan. Do you know what I mean? I want Lewis to win now by default because he's British and I don't have a Jensen anymore. But one thing I will say for him is I genuinely believe when he talks about Formula One that whether you're listening to this podcast and you like him or not, he has your best interests at heart when he talks about the sport and he talks about the problems within the sport. And I think him having a go at his team and him talking, like you say, heart on his sleeve on the radio, I think that's him putting in what he thinks Formula One should be.
He's an impassioned man.
Yeah,
isn't he?
I think he probably hates the media trained, like, non-answers as much as we hate listening to them from drivers. Yeah, so I think that in my eyes, I think that's one of the reasons why he's good for the sport.
I mean,
That's why I'll be voting Lewis in the coming elections.
I think voting opens for Sports Personality of the Year around about the end of November.
The 44th, I think it is.
Bottas again, though. If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all.
Yeah,
Is what he's basically saying.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, he seems to go well at the Red Bull Ring. Second pole in a row, which makes it the only circuit where Valtteri Bottas now has more than one pole position.
Mm-hmm.
So
He was driving a good solid race.
He was driving a good
apart
solid
from his start.
slightly odd start. Yeah.
Bad start. He got. We thought at the time, or I certainly did when we were doing the blog. He was in the wrong engine mode, and he wasn't in getaway. As it turned out, he actually got bogged down and got wheel spin off the line, which we didn't see because there was that much else going on.
Yeah, but he dropped down to fourth, and then all of a sudden,
and that's what lost him the places. But I think we were mainly watching Vettel going even further backwards.
It was a great move to get back.
Yeah.
You know, what I will say about Bottas is, can you think of a driver in such a good car that's essentially been expected, like people have expected so little from him and had so much pressure on him coming into this season? I've said it, like, he shouldn't be in that car. You know, I didn't like, but to take all that pressure on, up his game, and all of a sudden be on par with Lewis in qualifying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking about one of the quickest men over one lap.
Oh
there.
yeah.
I think he's been fucking phenomenal this year.
yeah. And if it wasn't for the bad luck, could well be leading the championship.
Yeah.
Where he should have won in Baku.
Easy.
Maybe
Possibly
Bahrain.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Bahrain. And would have had a podium had without failure at here in Austria. Well, here in Austria because we're not in Austria, but
Yeah.
at the race in Austria.
Shush. Illusion.
Kayfabe.
We're
in
not.
this very ring.
We're not in Austria. We're in the Isle of Man. Everybody knows this.
But yeah, no, like I think so far he's my driver of the year, to be perfectly honest. Well, yeah, with what he's had to deal with and how he's upped his game, I think
He does have Webber's luck.
He does have Webber's luck.
So does that mean when we see him win at some point this season, because it will happen, we will get not bad for a number 2 in a Finnish accent?
I don't know that I think
No, he's not that emotional. He'll just say, "Thanks,
Yay.
guys.
Well, of course not. He's Finnish.
Thanks, guys. Good effort." And that'll be it.
I think if he keeps going like he is, like you looked at him at Williams and he looked good, then he looked bad, and then last year you thought, well, maybe he's going to be that driver that when something happens to Lewis, he can pick up a win. if he can keep doing what he's doing this year into next year, I don't think it's a ridiculous thing to look at him as a potential world champion.
No, he certainly should be leading. Maybe not leading, but he should be up there with
But he's
Vettel
not a
and
masser.
Hamilton.
That's what I mean. He doesn't seem to be a masser.
No.
I don't think he's a Rosberg yet, but
No.
but it's not impossible.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying right now Bottas can win a world championship, but that's what I mean. If he keeps improving and upping himself as he is, there's potential for a potential world champion.
yeah.
It would mean that,
Exponential potential.
Yeah.
it would mean that his luck would have to improve. But
This isn't the
winning a world championship is probably 33% luck, 33% car, and 33%
Absolutely.
ability.
Yeah. And for Mercedes as well, I wouldn't put it past being like 33% marketing as well. Like, it's a horrible thing to say.
132%
Yeah.
of
No,
a world
but,
championship.
I'm pretty sure that
Well, the drivers give 110%, so where do you get that extra 22 from?
I'm pretty sure that the board back at Stuttgart would prefer to market a Lewis Hamilton world champion than a Valtteri Bottas world champion.
Well, it's easier to market a Lewis Hamilton world
he
champion
does it for you on Twitter.
Yeah, he's a brand. Brand Hamilton, you see on TV adverts. Brand Bottas, well, his local takeaway from where he was brought up in Finland have done the Bottas burger.
He's got his own bread in his local shop. And,
Yeah,
and the milk from his farm.
Yeah, and aside from that, he doesn't even have a long drink.
Has there ever been a driver that's put himself that sort of built himself like that before? I'm tentative to say Senna, but I think the Senna brand was unfortunately built more after his death than during his life.
No, it was definitely after his death. Yeah.
He launched a
Cartoon.
character,
But that was just Brazil, wasn't it? It
yeah,
was
about a week before he died.
Yeah, it was a Brazil only thing. But I mean, like, as a global personality, I can't think of another Formula One driver that's been as recognisable as Lewis Hamilton.
Going back, probably James Hunt used to, because he used to appear in a lot of TV adverts.
Yeah.
I
James
mean,
Hunt,
I
possibly.
remember when James Hunt was world champion.
Yeah.
And he was doing an advert for Texaco Petrol, who were one of McLaren's sponsors at the time, in 1978 with Morecambe and Wise. That was like God times 3 on the TV
Yeah, but that's-
all at once.
But again, like we're saying about Senna having his cartoon in Brazil, would that have been a global thing, or would that have been sort of a British thing?
Well, it was shown in America as well, because Morecambe and Wise did mean something in America at the time.
Yeah.
And how much of Brand Hamilton does the rest of the world get? Because
I suppose so.
obviously we see lots of it being in
Yeah.
the, well, not in the UK, but stone's throw from the UK.
I think it's quite interesting when you look at his Twitter account and look at the variety of people that tweet him.
Yeah.
You know, and the variety of people in the variety of languages.
Just go onto Twitter and look at the hashtag Team LH.
Yeah.
And the variety of people who want to be seen with him.
Yeah.
Rita Ora, Winnie Harlow. You class them all as friends, but you don't know how many of them are friends
Yeah.
and how many of them are
Yeah, what was it last year?
sponsorship friends.
Dry humping Rihanna at New Orleans Mardi Gras.
Yeah. So
I'll just leave you with that image.
Dry humping is probably the safest way to hump Rihanna. I digress anyway. Which team are we on to?
We do frequently, that's why we're here.
The second one.
Next up, Chapter 2, Renault.
Yeah.
Return
Sainz, of the Renault.
Sainz in 12th, Hulkenberg
Hulkenberg on fire.
on fire. Now, apparently it was his intercooler that went.
see, they
It wasn't
qualified really
it wasn't
well.
the engine. That's what Renault have been saying. The same intercooler fault that Grosjean had in Canada when he started vaping.
Right.
The fire was heated oil that
The cooler failed to cool down.
was in the system, and the cooler wasn't cooling down, so it set it on fire.
Well, we'll know if that's true if he takes an engine penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, when Cyril Abitable was asked for a statement,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm going to carry on doing that every week until somebody finds it funny.
I had
Actually-
it is good. It's a good impression.
Actually, I got an email from somebody in France last week saying it's the closest impression that he's heard.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's pretty spot on impression of Cyril Abitable. You're so mumbly that you actually switch off halfway through the sentence. But I had Renault down for a really good performance in Austria, and they qualified quite well. And I thought, the way they're developing the car, the way they're going, we could have a really good, really strong Renault performance here. And they qualified great, and then they sort of went backwards in the race. All right, okay, Hulkenberg sort of had a pop and a bang, and then pulled his car over to the side of the track with plenty of steam and smoke coming out of it, and some flames. But Sainz, again...
Sainz had a tidy race, really, didn't he?
But finished outside the points after qualifying well inside the points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, qualified
Finished
ninth,
behind
finished
the
12th.
Saub. Yeah, finished behind both Saubers. And Alonso caught and passed him as well in that McLaren, which apparently is struggling at Austria. But again, we don't want to start talking about...
Starting from the pit lane, Alonso had quietly one of the best races of the day.
Absolutely. We don't want to talk about McLaren too much whilst crashing the party.
Whilst we're talking about Renault.
Yeah, whilst we're talking about Renault.
Renault.
I was going for your hair's a mess.
But the whole thing, the whole on-track performance by Renault, it was a slide backwards. It was for single lap pace on Saturday looked to be good, and then I don't know what happened to
They
race
seem
pace.
to be yo-yoing, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite looking for. I'm still convinced that by come the end of the year, Renault will be fourth best team.
Are you? Because
Because
Haas,
That mantle went back to Haas this weekend.
but they seem
by far.
Which is why we'll get to Haas quite a while later.
yeah. But as far as
Actually,
Renault
third
goes,
best team in terms of results.
as far as Renault goes, I do wonder whether we might see the halt on the Renault progress, which seems to like maybe coincide with the aero shake-up for next year, because it's almost like, oh, fuck it, now we've got to start something else again. It's because what do you do if you're in Renault's position that wants to be up the front? What's the point in continuing to develop the car that aero-wise is going to be changed next year, just to score points when you can focus all your effort onto next year?
But what do points mean?
Prizes.
They really do, because
Yeah, they gotta-
the higher up the rankings you can finish,
But let's...
the more you've got to put into 2021, really.
Yeah, but Renault have already committed like such a massive amount of money to the budget. Like it's just on top of the massive amount of money that they've already got to play with. So I think they're more interested in the long-term gains than the short-term gains at the minute.
Yeah.
Poor result though from Renault.
Yes.
Was it, a DNF and a 12th, was it, for Sainz?
Yeah.
Yeah, very poor.
Here's a quick thing. While we're on Sainz, because I know we're going to talk about this later, does he look like a Red Bull driver still?
Not at the moment.
Right, carry on.
No.
Maybe not this race, but
Yeah, not at the moment, but
last race he was well up there, wasn't he?
yeah.
But again, like I've had my doubts about Max Verstappen, and I think he's a good driver, but I wonder whether he would ever be a world champion, given how erratic he is. But when he was in Toro Rosso, and he was the Red Bull Junior guy, he looked like the Red Bull driver. He looked like he was going to be next, like Red Bull elect, is what
I always
thought.
thought Sainz did as well, and I'm pretty sure if you put Sainz now into the Red Bull, he'd be getting the same wins that Verstappen and Ricciardo can pick up.
Interesting, maybe. Anyway, next team.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say about Renault is the thing that Sainz was struggling with mainly was, again, rear blistering, because his back tyres were an absolute mess, and he was doing a lot of following. And I think this just goes to show how much of a surprise the conditions caught everyone by.
How we're hearing that so much, though, aren't we? But they turn up, the tyres aren't behaving like we thought they would do.
Yeah, the tyres weren't behaving like they thought they would do because it was freakishly hot.
Yeah, no, but we're hearing it like at virtually every track this year. The tyres have been a mystery.
In that case, good one, Pirelli. You finally sussed it.
Is it? Do we want them falling apart? Do we want them blistering?
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They don't behave like they're expected to. Sometimes they last longer than they should.
Is that what we want? Is what we want, like potluck from tyre wear? Like
Well, it depends. It depends how well they get managed. The Ultra Softs were meant to last 20 laps. there were drivers getting 30 plus out of them.
Yeah, K-Mag.
Yeah.
Did like 32 laps, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that then means it's pot luck dependent on car.
Exactly,
I don't think it's driver style
This
because
is the protectionist sort of Formula One that we were talking about last week. And
I don't want that.
No, I don't want it either. I mean,
But I don't even think it's protectionist because look at Lewis when
You've
he
got-
blistered his back tyres.
yeah, I mean, you've
he
got to
wasn't
manage your
hanging it out.
tyres, but I mean, managing your tyres shouldn't mean, I can't follow this car. I'll
Yeah.
have to sit back 3 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're losing a whole load of downforce from the car in front, then you're going to be a bit more slidey than you would be otherwise.
Well, that's what I mean.
And if you're being a bit slidey, then that's going to hurt your tyres.
Yeah, but managing your tyres shouldn't be, I'll have to drop back from the car or the car in front. Managing your tyres should be, okay, maybe I have to watch how much harder I'm driving around certain corners or...
But I think then that comes down to the aero because you're not able to follow.
Here's a radical thought. If we had cars that could actually get close enough to race each other and the rules were in place which bunch the field up much like MotoGP's done, then we wouldn't have to rely on tyres like degrading. We could put those tyres on that you put on in June and take off in December, and it wouldn't matter because the cars were racing each other, and we wouldn't be talking about tyres.
In a way, I agree.
Yeah. I hate it when he's right. Toro Rosso.
I think you're thinking most of the time.
Toro Rosso.
Yeah, I am thinking most of the time. You're right. I think quite a lot.
Toro Rosso.
Toro Rosso.
Toro Rosso.
Another DNF for Hartley, another new engine for Hartley, but this one was tactical. This wasn't.
It was a hydraulic failure.
It was a hydraulic failure in the new engine that they put in for tactical reasons because
Yeah.
he qualified 19th and he was going to be starting 19th.
A good safety save as well from Hartley when he went into that corner and his hydraulic steering wasn't working. The way he sort of managed to sort of just coast it around the concrete apron without losing it completely, which
Yeah.
I've got to say, I think a lesser experienced driver probably would have done, and then thought, well, hang on a second, is this temporary or can I manage this, or and then he realised
He went into WEC mode because he actually managed to get the car into get me home mode without having a get me home mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he went into, like you just said there, WEC sort of style driving. Tried to manage the situation while still going, like they do in WEC.
Yeah.
However, in Formula One, that generally doesn't work. And then when his engineer said to him, "We're okay," his response was, "No, we're not."
And smart move to actually get the car to somewhere where it could be removed without bringing out a safety car or a virtual
Yeah.
safety car and affecting the race.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for Hartley because he looked like he was on par with Gasly at points this weekend.
I think he was. I mean, he's had Bottas luck.
Who's had Webber's luck, but he's starting to show that he can be the driver Toro Rosso need him to be. He
But-
just needs the car to start working
But
for
is
him.
it enough for Helmut Marko that he's starting to show it, and it doesn't matter if the car goes wrong because
Yeah, I think it does, 'cause-
in Marko world, if the car breaks down, you pick it up,
No.
stick it on your back, and you do the rest of the race on foot.
Harley's gone. Like
He will be gone, but
Doesn't matter
they've got
what he
no one else to stick in that car this year.
oh yeah, not
yeah.
this year.
So
He's only there because they can't get anyone else.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which is unfortunate because he's a damn good driver.
if
Well,
they
if he keeps on improving, I think he's there possibly past the end of the year.
It would be good to see if he was.
If he can
Remember,
prove that
he's,
he can
he's an
match
older
Gasly.
driver, so he's not going to just pick up everything maybe as quick as a younger driver would.
do you think that McLaren was short-sighted with Lando?
What team are we talking about?
In what respect?
Because the Toro Rosso approached Lando to replace Hartley this year. They wanted Lando in the car this year, halfway through the season. Does it not make sense for McLaren to turn around and say, "Yep, you can have him for the rest of the year"? Then they bring him in next year, and he's already got half a year's Formula One.
I
experience.
don't know. We're talking about Lance Stroll having been brought in too early, and that may be hurting his career.
Yeah, and the same with Lando.
But do you
they
think-
did the right thing with Lando, but
Do you
put
think
him in
so?
F2.
Because
yeah.
you're talking like 6 months. He's not going to go from not being ready for Formula One to being ready for Formula One in 6 months.
No, I think they've done the right thing, but for other reasons, which I'll get onto when we start talking about McLaren. At the moment, while we're talking about Toro Rosso, unfortunate for Gasly outside the points.
Yep.
Raced and lost against both Saubers.
Yeah.
was passed in the latter stages of the race by Charles Leclerc and Marcus Ericsson.
But it's a power circuit, and we know the Ferrari engine is better than the Honda engine.
Yeah.
It's amazing what a bit of that Ferrari dust does for customers, isn't it?
But I like it when Toro Rosso get points. Just
Yeah.
Any particular reason?
yeah, it just goes to show that the bits that have gone on the Red Bull, the prototypes for those were actually quite good as well that they've given to Toro Rosso.
Yeah, the seconds bin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you've done this in inches. We wanted it in centimetres. Stick it on the other car.
I find it very hard to support Toro Rosso as a team, given the meat grinder conversations we've had for ages.
Years.
Yeah, but then again, you could probably say that it's just as hard to support Red Bull as a team because the ones that survive that meat grinder get put into a different meat grinder.
What? Kvyat?
I think, yeah, since
Red Bull was good.
since Red Bull became Red Bull as they are,
Yeah.
it's only Kvyat who's been treated like that.
Yeah, Christian.
And
they
even
did have a
if
revolving
you-
seat in their
If you bring
first
up Valentino
year.
Liuzzi,
So, Christian Klein, Vitantonio Liuzzi, Robert Dornbos, sorry.
Who's still employed by them.
yeah, but no, you didn't.
that-
you
that-
didn't mention a good Formula One driver
No,
there.
but hang on. These are not drivers who came up through Toro Rosso and then joined
Yeah.
Red Bull.
They're also not good Formula One drivers. That's why they fell out.
The only driver who's come up through Toro Rosso and been treated like a Toro Rosso driver whilst driving for Red Bull is Danny Kvyat.
Yeah, Danny Kvyat had all the opportunities in the world and bottled it.
Yeah.
Did he win a race for Red Bull? He must have done.
He stopped Vettel winning a couple.
Yeah.
No, he got a few podiums, but he didn't win one.
No,
He got a podium just before he got big.
Yeah.
Yeah, the race before he got binned.
he wouldn't have won the next race though.
Well, he got a podium in China, 15th in Russia, and then by Spain he was in a Toro Rosso.
Which
Yeah.
reminds me, I did actually tweet Daniel Kvyat yesterday.
Commiserations on getting fired.
Yeah, have you been fired by Ferrari? Because I see Max Verstappen's won.
Right, now we can talk about McLaren.
Go.
Alonso, pit lane to 8th.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
nice work. Like Lee just said before, probably quietly the best drive of the race.
He must have had outstanding pace because he only made 3 racing overtakes.
One of them was on Brendan Hartley, but we missed it.
Yeah.
Conversely, Stoffel Van Dorn.
Well, it's a tale as old as time, isn't it?
3 laps
Split
down,
strategy.
3 laps down. One of those was after having to rewrite the strategy because he stopped on lap 1 because he broke another front wing.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I would guess maybe there was damage to the floor of the car as well, was there?
I think so because he was at the same pace as both Williams.
Oh, I tell you what. The considering that the front wing's the only thing you're allowed to adjust in Parc Ferme. Yeah.
The front wing angle.
Yeah. But considering you can adjust the front wing, having to start from the pit lane because you replaced the front wing sucks.
Yeah.
That's a stupid penalty.
Yeah.
No, it's like so you can if that front wing was fine.
It was
yeah,
for safety reasons.
yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
But if that front wing was fine, yeah, you can whack a load more downforce if you want. So the car's going to handle completely differently to what it did in qualifying. But you can't put the same thing on again with the same wing angles. It's fucking stupid.
The Parc Ferme rules are bloody stupid.
Yeah.
At times.
I would imagine it's to stop teams sneakily putting new parts on with different different configurations.
It's another thing of
Well,
fucking
the front-
cost cutting as well, isn't it?
The front wing that went on Alonso's car was last year's
Yeah.
because it turned out that it was faster than this year's.
Either that or that was the fucking press statement and they simply run out of this year's.
Well, everyone was running out of front wings because people get
'Cause they
wrecking
kept
them
on.
on.
Yeah.
Well, that spells
last two
even
corners.
that spells even more trouble for Eric Boulier because he took over as official technical director earlier this year. So McLaren have been under his technical direction And last year's wing, when really they weren't under his technical direction but sort of were, is better than the one that they've been developing under his technical direction.
I don't believe that, because when the wing was first put on the car and it was new, they turned around and said, yeah, it's better. So that to me just turns around and says it was saving face because Van Dorn kept breaking them.
Van Dorn only broke one, didn't he, over the weekend?
No, Van Dorn broke a few.
Did he?
Yeah.
Alonso only broke one.
broke one. But Van Dorn, like, he went through that many fucking wings. They thought he was a Red Bull driver for a split second.
They were like, did we sign Grosjean by accident?
I mean, I did see a joking tweet today saying that McLaren are bringing all old upgrades for the British Grand Prix, and they're going to run an MP423.
Dial it back further than that and run the 17.
But yeah, now the reason why I think McLaren didn't want to let Lando Norris go to Toro Rosso is I still don't think they're convinced that they are going to have the same driver lineup come the end of the season that they started with. Not through anyone getting fired, but through someone walking.
That's
And
a pretty good shout, actually.
and
Yeah,
he
but
is first in the queue to replace anyone that
Well, he's their
doesn't
test
drive
driver.
the car.
If that was the case, then they'd just hand him over on loan until they recall him.
Much like they did with much like Red Bull did with Carlos Sainz.
I
Yeah.
think, and this is complete and utter conjecture, that they don't want him to get used to somebody else's car because it'll take away from the simulator time that he'll be getting in the current car.
Yeah, I the other thing is as well, I don't know how Formula One contracts work, but I'd have thought if you brought someone in into a team like Toro Rosso, you know, in the Red Bull umbrella, that their deal with McLaren, for instance, would be enough to say, right, well, we want him, but we want him for the rest of the year.
But if you sign a contract with the Red Bull organisation, if you notice, don't know if you've seen when anyone's done it, as each pen stroke gets made on the paper where the contract is, the little flames start lamping out, and then one of them attaches to your forehead like a tendril, and it takes your soul.
It could well be that Red Bull said, we want him for the rest of the year. McLaren said, until we need him back. And
And
Red Bull said,
no, we
yeah.
want him for the rest
Yeah.
of the year. And I think McLaren are still worried that they're not going to have that. Or at the time, it may have changed now, but at the time, McLaren didn't think that they were going to have that lineup.
I'm still
At the end
saying
of the season, I'm not saying which one would walk or jump or get pushed,
Yeah.
but they need that contingency plan, and he is their contingency.
yeah, I'm still saying double McLaren driver switch at the end of the year.
Oh, guaranteed. We'll do the silly season in a bit, and I think we've narrowed it down to what the McLaren lineup's going to be next year.
Have we?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
We'll talk about it in a
later,
bit because
yeah.
we're only halfway through the grid.
But yeah, see, quietly, I think Alonso might be driver of the day. Like his pace must have been fucking phenomenal to get from the pit lane, especially considering he radioed in and said, "You need to do something with me. I'm not staying here for 70 laps." So
Yeah.
they've obviously brought him in early to give him some clean air, and he has stuck the boot down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for once, the car appeared to be there to do it.
Well, this is the thing. This is the reason why. Well, we can talk about this later, but this is the reason I don't think Alonso's going to go anywhere.
I think he'll go to IndyCar. McLaren entry in IndyCar.
We'll do this in a bit because it would be nice to talk about other teams without actually diverting things back to McLaren. Just for once, can we
So
do
who
something
are
different?
next?
Who are next? Sauber.
Great
good
drive.
result for them, yeah.
Both drivers.
Double points finish.
Ericsson looked like he was well out of it because he stopped so late that it was just like, well, hang on a second. He was up the grid falsely because he hadn't stopped, and now he's dropped all the way back now that he stopped for these fresh tyres. But he was quick on those tyres, and he made that time back up.
Yeah.
And finished 10th, got points. So point. So
And Charles Leclerc let him pass to have a go.
Sorry,
at,
but did he finish 9th in the end?
No, he finished 10th. Dan was just about to explain that.
Oh, right,
yeah,
sorry, go on.
Charles Leclerc was ordered to let him pass so that on the fresher tyres he could have a go at.
the
Was it in front?
The Force Indias.
The Force Indias in front.
Yeah.
Sauber's against Force Indias.
Yeah.
God. That wouldn't have happened last year.
2014 was probably the last time we would have seen
I was
that.
going to say we're just fallen back in time 4 or 5 years.
But he couldn't get close enough, so on the last lap, he gave the place back.
Oh, okay, fine. No worries. I thought it was the other way around. I thought Leclerc moved over for Ericsson, but no, Ericsson moved over for Leclerc.
Ericsson moved over for Leclerc after Leclerc had moved over for Ericsson
Yes.
earlier.
Yeah.
But Sauber this year, I think this is where they should be, where they need to be, and where I think a lot of people are happy to see them.
I think it's encouraging for Williams because it shows that you can turn around a team that's going downhill.
With the model that Sauber are going with, which isn't too dissimilar.
Get
Hang on.
Ferrari to pay for it.
Yeah, which isn't too dissimilar from what Haas were doing with the sort of Ferrari model. Let's take as much as we possibly can from Ferrari. I don't think that Williams or Force India are going to be able to make the same inroads that Sauber and Haas have made unless either of those teams goes in into a inverted commas here technical partnership with Mercedes.
Quick question though, if
Can I just? And I know this is going back to McLaren, but this is just something I found.
you just said no more McLaren.
Yeah, but this is just
you
something I
had
found
a go
out,
at me
and
from
it's-
McLaren.
And it's correcting ourselves on the Parc Fermé regulations.
Go on then, because I've got
Because it-
something to say about Williams.
Because it was a different spec front wing to the one that they were replacing. If it had been the same spec, he
wouldn't
wouldn't have had to have the pit lane
penalty.
start.
That's
So
interesting.
because
Right.
it was a different spec.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
actually.
it does make more
yeah,
sense. I'm
and
glad
that's,
about
and
that.
that's why they put the new improved MG UK in there as
Yeah.
well, because we're starting from the pit lane
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, no, I'm glad about that because if it had been he got a penalty for just swapping the same wing out, that was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No, it was a different spec. So
Williams, do you think
I
there's
know we'll get tweets about that.
Do you think there's anything with the Williams make a load of money with their engineering side? Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously it doesn't look good on Williams engineering when their car's shite. But would it look worse if Williams all of a sudden had to buy off the shelf parts instead of Williams engineering a car?
At the moment, the Williams engineering parts don't appear to be the best in the world.
No, but what I mean is though, would they lose revenue from the other things they do?
Would they sell less freezers and
would
Formula
it
E
damage their
batteries?
brand? At the minute, they're pushing the edge of technology, and they've just got it a bit wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it would damage them if they put the right spin on it.
Yeah,
Something like, we're having to buy the gearbox in to leave us more time to innovate in other areas.
but that's great if you're trying to spin it to the public. But when you're talking about their engineering side of it, they would be then trying to spin it to people that are wanting to buy technology. I don't think they'd be quite as easily fooled.
But when the rest
Well, you just say that the world of Formula One is different to the world of fridges.
freezers,
Yes, well, this is definitely true.
You know, all the-
Technology is transferable.
yeah.
all the work that they do on their freezers, that comes down to their aero department.
But don't forget all the stuff they do battery wise and stuff like that. too.
Yeah.
Does that mean the freezers are
they're
suddenly randomly stalling?
Yeah, it's not just a Formula One team that makes fridge freezers.
No, no, they don't make fridge freezers; they make the shelves.
Yeah,
They'd have to put a spin on it. Obviously, they'd have to justify it to their investors because they are a public limited company,
yeah,
and it's the shareholders that dictate.
yeah. Tell you what, who wants to know what that message that Claire Williams wrote out and showed to a person, and the cameraman got the fuck out of there.
Yes,
yeah, that- yeah,
I
that
saw that. That was
That little two-phone incident.
Yeah,
that was our friends at which podcast is it? Missed Apex spotted and transcribed that, didn't they?
did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wonder. Have a look, find out what it was.
It was chastising someone on the pit lane for not wearing the official outfit.
I think Claire Williams needs to get her priorities in order.
Just looking.
I'm
looking for that now. But are you looking for it as well?
Yeah, I'm looking for this here, but yeah, I can't find it quickly enough. But you carry on looking. Yeah, if that's all it was, then again, Williams is a company that's based on making sure the little things are perfect, but not doing it in quite as good a way as McLaren did it under Ron. It's just that I think Patrick Head could shout a lot louder.
Yeah, I think. Oh, I don't know. I think I'd rather be shouted at by Patrick Head than Ron Dennis.
No, Ron Dennis wouldn't shout. Ron Dennis would get calmer.
Oh no, I think he'd shout.
I bet Ron Dennis was a shouter.
Yeah, and it'd be really like it would be from the diaphragm sort of thing, wouldn't it? You know, like an opera singer, like it would burst at you. You'd be like being shouted at by a fucking banshee. But
But it would be less scary than when he went quiet.
yes, but yeah, I when that message was going on, and like Claire Williams was sort of at the back of the garage, sort of leaning over, texting somebody to show somebody a phone. The only thing I could think was, who the fuck is at the helm of this team?
I've got the message.
Aha.
Hi, Paul. Claire or Paddy may have mentioned this is something that's been CC'd into Claire Williams.
This isn't. I'm not the Paul.
No. Hi, Paul. Claire or Paddy may have mentioned it already. This already. But as an engineer, you need to be wearing shirt and trousers, not shorts and t-shirts, especially when you're sat on the pit wall. Thanks. So it was a disciplinary email.
In the middle of qualifying.
Yeah, it was a disciplinary email. It was probably sent before, but or may not have been. It may have been somebody in the factory noticed it on TV and be like, hang on a
But she
second.
typed. She was typing.
She was typing it on her phone. Then she
Then she
gave
showed
the
it.
phone to
The blonde girl.
another team member.
Yeah.
That's what the email said to her. Maybe she was replying to it when she was tapping out on the phone.
Or maybe she was writing that.
And it seems like it was CC'd in to her and Paddy Lowe.
Right. But I like either way, does that seem like the sort of thing that should be being discussed when your two cars are taking part in fucking qualifying?
No, you're waiting till afterwards.
Well, I don't know, because during qualifying, what can the team boss actually do to change
Do you think
anything?
Toto Wolff talks about teamwear when Lewis Hamilton's doing a qualifying lap?
I have absolutely no idea. it might be the best chance he's got to do all the
No,
little
he's-
things.
No, he's on the phone to his furniture supplier asking for a desk that can take a damn good punch if this lap goes wrong. Still gutted we never got to see his desk and see all the dints in it.
Yeah. I tell you what I did like. I loved the look on Toto Wolff's face when Bottas did that move. He was so in that. He might as well have been in that car. He was that excited. It's great seeing people react.
You
like
kind of
that.
want to see that, don't you?
Yeah.
It's like when Ferrari make a good move and Arriva Bene gets all Italian.
Yeah. Ah, well. Next.
Which is the opposite of Arriva Bene talking to anyone after the race or anyone from the British media after the race.
Yep.
Yeah.
God, he was patronising on Sunday.
He's like Kimi. He hates media.
Well, I think he mainly hates the British media because don't forget, was it 2 years ago he actually stopped talking to British press?
Last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. My turn now.
Who's next?
Force India are up next. Ocon 6th, Perez 7th. And again, another team that swapped places over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, but not a bad performance from Force India for a change. For a team who have been struggling to score points and we've been like, oh, a points
The
finish, that's good.
highest placed Mercedes engines.
Yeah. Bear in mind, there are only 6 cars and Mercedes engines, and it wasn't going
And
to be
two of them
fucking
are Williams.
Yeah. And it is,
it's
and
not-
it is
it's not-
default.
But it's not often that Force India win the.
That's like saying you
Mercedes
are the 4th
Championship.
tallest person in this room.
Only because the cat's not here.
Exactly.
In fact, no, it's more like someone that turns around and says, no, he's really good, for his age. He's the best for his age.
yeah. How old is he? 11. Right.
You've not seen Ready Player One, obviously.
No.
You need a badge saying, "I'm 11, beat me up."
Is that allowed?
It's only a film.
All right, okay.
It's not a documentary.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Yet. But yes, Force India. I didn't see why they swapped places, but I'm assuming the team sent Perez out to try and hunt down a Haas, and then they swapped back.
I would imagine so, yeah. There was a very clean overtake in the middle of the
Between
race,
Perez
wasn't
and
there?
Ocon, yeah. Well, because I said, oh my God, who put those two on the same piece of track together? This is going to end in disaster. And strangely, it didn't.
So someone's managed to get through to somebody then.
Well, no, I think it was just, I think one of them, I think Perez No, Ocon let Perez through, and then right at the end of the race, similar to Sauber, they let him back through again to take the place for the extra points, because it didn't make much difference to the team that they finished 6th and 7th or 7th and 6th. You know?
Oh, just quickly, are we going to have a silly season chat after this?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
here we go. Ocon's statement, which I should have seen this early because it's from that article that Sean wrote up this morning. It's all right. We kept our ties going until the end, and we also showed great teamwork with Checo's. We swapped places to chase Magnussen.
Right.
So they are Frey again,
Yeah.
apparently.
Frenemies.
Yeah.
Interesting to point out, I think friend of the podcast, Sean Kelly, pointed it out, the F1 2018 France edition, featuring Pierre Gasly and Romain Grosjean on the front of the cover, but doesn't feature Esteban Ocon, who finished highest in the championship out of the French drivers last year. Why has Ocon been left out of the French edition?
Do they know something we don't?
Well, I thought he was Mexican at first.
He's got a Mexican name, so...
He does, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still looking forward to F1 2018.
I'll reserve judgment. I'm still not impressed with 17.
We can probably write 17 off as one of those years.
Yeah.
So we'll just call that Williams.
Yeah. But no, Force India, good solid performance from Force India. Strange that they were getting chased by Sauber, but great that they were chasing Haas for 4th and 5th. You know, so can't be too harsh on Force India. Maybe all this,
especially the ground they made up between qualifying and the race. I mean, don't forget Checo qualified 17th. He was bloody awful.
Yeah, much like Alonso, just had one of those races where he just sort of just head down drive and was had that really decent pace. But the maybe I'm just thinking for Force India, maybe the off track and away from the racing team, Vijay Mallya taking a step back, making sure he's nothing to do with the team.
He released a
7-page statement
7-page statement last
on
week.
Twitter.
Yeah, but he didn't actually type it up and release it on Twitter.
Tweeted it.
He tweeted photographs of the typed up pages where the text was that small you couldn't read it. Anyone remember the Friends episode? 14 pages, front and back.
Yeah.
It was one of them.
Yeah.
Along with an open letter that he wrote to the Indian government 2 years ago as well.
He didn't want anyone to read these, did he?
No, probably not. But,
No.
they're out there in the public domain now, so we can't be done.
That's up there with the Vatican wanting complaints in Latin, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. He released them. It's just that you've got to squint something chronic.
Yeah.
The Vatican doesn't know about Google Translate. No.
Does Google Translate do Latin?
Yes.
Oh.
Does it really?
I don't think the grammar's correct, though, because Latin grammar is a pain in the ass.
Barely does English.
Yeah, what was it? Translation tennis, and we came out with reconcile what you're looking at, my esteemed colleague. Other trawling areas are available. That started out in English, went through 6 or 7 of the languages, and came back to English.
No.
It was what was playing on the radio at the time. It was dry your eyes, mate. There's plenty more fish in the sea. Moving on, Haas.
Great performance.
Showing that pace.
Sauber was
that-
good. Haas were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Haas is now showing that pace that we've seen in bits all the way through the season before something's gone wrong, not with the engine.
Exactly, yeah. And look at how good a race Grosjean can have when he doesn't hit anyone or anything, or lose his temper.
Well, there were
Or
five,
drive into the wall for no
there were
reason.
5 cars between
blame
him and
Ericsson.
Ericsson.
Well, yeah, there were 5 cars. That's what I was going to say, yeah. He couldn't blame Ericsson for anything. But, we've said for since the beginning of the season, Magnussen, scoring all of Haas's points.
Magnussen is looking like a different driver.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
season.
completely, yeah. But Magnussen's consistent. 5th place for Magnussen's a brilliant result. 4th place for Grosjean's amazing, but it's inconsistent.
Well, let's just hope that
What was
this
it?
is the beginning of a turn.
This is his
corner.
first points finish this
Well,
year.
that was Haas's 50th. Haas's 50th
This is
Grand
Grosjean's
Prix.
first points finish this year.
That's fucking crazy.
There is now only Sorokin that hasn't scored points. 50th race for Haas. Only the 3rd where they both finished in the points. That is how binary they always are.
Wow. But I mean, they are binary, but
First double points finish since Monaco last year.
first points for Grosjean this year, that's incredible.
Yeah, 3 retirements: a 13th, a 17th, a 15th, a 12th, and an 11th, and then a 4th.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
So yeah, the Grosjean. So up to
Sorry. First double points finish since Japan last year.
Yeah.
So up to the point, where they crossed the line in Austria, all of Haas's points this year were K-Mags.
Wow. Good car as well.
It's starting to look okay. I mean, we expected to see Haas sort of do that mid-season fade that they've done the first couple of years they've been in the sport, where they don't have the team and the resources to develop as quick as everyone else. So they have a strong start to the season, and then they just sort of gradually fade away until they're, sort of mid-grid. Picking up scraps of points here and there. But this was an upgrade. I think they chose to take the Ferrari upgrade that Ferrari brought to Canada. And it worked really well for them.
Yeah.
And 4th and 5th, okay, fair enough. We didn't get a Mercedes finish, but in championship terms, if we're looking, for the rest of the season, again, they're looking like the best of the rest again, which is amazing.
We said in Australia, are Haas going to be the 4th fastest car? And okay, it's taken till 9 races in. This weekend they were.
No, yeah, but in Australia they were really, really good. In Bahrain they were good, and then they dropped off a little bit after Bahrain, but we thought that was the beginning of the season fade, but they've come back because they've taken that Ferrari upgrade, and clearly it works really well with the package they put together. It's not purely down to power unit.
True, but watch out for Haas on the podium in Austria next year. I'm just looking at the results. 2016. They had a 7th. 2017, they had a 6th. 2018, 5th and 4th.
It's a good call.
2nd and 3rd next year?
If 2 Mercedes go out in front of them, probably. But the only thing I was thinking about Haas was, what if the car is the best of the rest? Like, what that it should be. And instead of having a car which isn't suiting certain circuits, where maybe they've got sketchy drivers that don't suit certain circuits. In the same way as we used to say about Williams, how good's that car?
It could be the case. How would you know?
The only people that know that is the team, because they know they'll know what their car should be doing. Or they'll think they do. Mind you, without a consistent driver, like somebody like a Nico Rosberg or someone that's putting the car where it can technically get to every race.
Yeah,
how would you know?
I do think Magnussen is a better driver this year than he was
He's
last year.
definitely a better driver than this thing. I think the extra year is showing, he's in the same team. I think he said that even in the build-up, didn't he, for Formula 1 this week?
Yeah.
He brought it up that this is the first time he's ever been in a team for 2 years.
He also said that him and a lot of staff at McLaren didn't want him to leave.
Yeah, but that's what
It was just Ron had other ideas.
See, I
It was
think,
interesting.
I think Ron wanted to keep him. I think it was the board that wanted Button.
It was the Ron Ron and Jan Magnussen thing, when Ron decided Jan Magnussen was no good because of the chaos in his suitcase. Yeah, he had to get his passport out of his bag at the airport, and he saw Jan Magnussen's. Was it Jan Magnussen's?
Yeah, well, it was.
Yeah, Jan Magnussen's bag was a mess. It wasn't kept neatly and tidily in not the McLaren way.
I packed a mean suitcase. I could get a McLaren.
Yeah,
drive.
so Ron said that's not packed correctly. If he's got a chaotic suitcase, he's got a chaotic mind, and that stuck with K-Mag ever since. Ever since K-Mag getting anywhere near Formula 1, he always packed his suitcase perfectly in case Ron Dennis had a look in it.
Yeah, but what Jan Magnussen left out there was, Ron said, "Yeah, your bag's not packed properly, and you're a shit Formula 1 driver." And that's the second part that was always left out of the story.
His Formula 1 career was over by the time he was 25.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to point out, Danny Kvyat is still only 24.
That is frightening.
Yeah.
I'm just having a look at Jan Magnussen. Oh God, Jan Magnussen's younger than me.
Well, yeah.
Careful.
So's T-Rex.
No, their first album came out in 1968.
I meant the dinosaur.
This fucking calendar's younger than you.
Yes.
So don't ever remember hearing about the Paulian calendar.
Just wait till December this year. That's all I'm saying. Right, Ferrari next.
Really good recovery drive. Kimi Räikkönen, I think, I know we're going to talk silly season in a minute, but I think he's had a word, or someone's had a word with him about his future, because Kimi doesn't perform in a season unless he knows what he's doing the following season. All of a sudden, this race, after some speculation at Ferrari, Kimi starts performing. Really brilliant start. Could have almost could have gone horrifically wrong. Could almost have taken the lead of the race, but backed out to let Hamilton take the turn. But stayed ahead of Bottas until turn 4, I think it was. But just had the pace to manage to keep. All right. Vettel had a poor start from 6th and went backwards a little bit, but we know what Vettel's like at recovery drives. But
Vettel also made the pass of the day.
oh yeah, of course, yeah. But Kimi had the pace to genuinely stay ahead of Sebastian. During the race, there were at no point could Ferrari have said, like, "Well, Seb's quicker than you. Do you want to let him past?" Because it wasn't the case. All right, Seb might have caught Kimi a little bit quick, but Kimi kept him at bay. Kimi was one of those rare occasions where he was good Kimi, and like I just alluded to, I think it's because he knows his future for next year.
I mean, the question that was asked was on, I think it was Saturday. We're hearing that you've been in talks with McLaren, which his answer was, yes, I used to talk to them all the time when I drove for them. Which is possibly the most Kimi answer to that question.
The most Kimi answer was what he said to Martin Brundle on the grid walk. That was fucking hilarious.
2 times you've spoken to me in 3 years.
Yeah.
I think he's still on a live TV ban from the, sorry, I was having a shit.
I like the fact that not only because he went to say no, and then he decided to take the microphone off so he could say it.
I bet Martin Brundle's heart was in his mouth as well.
Yeah.
Kimi's got the microphone.
Shit's gonna swear.
My career is over.
I bet when he's not on television, I bet Kimi swears more than I bet Kimi swears the same amount I do.
Oh, we're talking burger levels.
Yeah.
And of course, Brundle interviewing Kimi just after he'd walked past Gerhard Berger and had a quick word with him as well.
Yeah.
Whoever was on the sound desk for Sky, you did an immaculate job.
Faders down.
Is this going to be the resurgence of Kimi this season?
Well, it's worth noting that Ferrari could well have swapped their drivers round, and it would have made sense for the championship, and they chose not to.
Which is one of the least Ferrari things ever.
Yeah. Toto Wolff said if Ferrari would have swapped their drivers around, it would have been a brutal decision. He clearly hasn't heard of a man called Felipe Massa.
Or Rubens Barrichello.
Or Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ferrari have history, especially at Austria, of swapping drivers around. I mean, that's where they got booed on the podium, wasn't it? But maybe they were mindful of that when they didn't want to swap their drivers around. But there was no need to either, even if Sebastian was as fast as Kimi, and he wasn't, because without the Mercedes scoring, the Ferrari were going to score almost as many points as they could anyway. Because let's be honest, nobody was going to catch Max out front.
Yes, but I remember around this time last year, Mercedes getting a whole bunch of criticism for allowing Bottas and Hamilton to swap, putting Bottas back in front, because those couple of points could have meant the championship.
That was in Hungary last year. Yeah.
It was Hungary, was it? I remembered it was something hot.
Starving.
It was. It was in.
Not fun Pizza Hut.
It was in Hungary, and Bottas let Hamilton go for it. Much similar to what we saw with Force India and Sauber at this race.
But
Bottas let Hamilton go to
and
have
Hamilton
a go
gave the place back
on the last corner. Yeah, and he said after the race, "I hope I don't regret that," and he didn't in the end.
Yeah, I think the classic Ferrari Schumacher and Barrichello one, that wasn't letting Barrichello go to chase off after somebody. That was Barrichello going out, actually taking the lead on his own.
more or less winning the race. And
Practically winning the race. Schumacher was about 8 seconds behind at the start of the last lap. and then was half a second ahead at the finish line.
Which is why Barrichello was driver A and Schumacher was driver 1, because on his day, Barrichello could nail Schumacher to the post.
We've said this before, and Schumacher said he was glad that they did the same thing to Barrichello because on his day he could beat him. And okay, it's team orders. It happens. There are, that it is a team strategy.
I often wonder how great Rubens Barrichello would have been had he not had that accident at Imola.
Yeah, possibly. The other
I
thing,
think that slowed him down for a few years.
the other thing people don't know about Rubens Barrichello is as well, he's long been known as like one of the absolute best test drivers in the world.
For feedback.
Yeah, and just car setup in general. If Jenson Button's championship year, Jenson used Barrichello setups.
Because Ross Brawn said there was transparency between the drivers.
Yeah.
And Barrichello was happy to share because of all the time he'd spent at Ferrari, where Schumacher's side of the garage was practically closed off to him.
Closed off, yeah. And Stockholm Syndrome, so he just felt he had to do it.
That leaves us with Red Bull. Could have been a 1-2.
Should have been a 1-2.
Yeah.
Wasn't a 1-2.
But
No.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, Danny Rick. Happy birthday, but not so much.
Yeah. Exhaust failure, I think it was in the end.
Furious during qualifying for Verstappen's, shall we say, I don't want to call it antics because it's not really.
It was nothing to do with Verstappen. The team put Danny Rick on the circuit in front of Verstappen.
Yeah.
So Verstappen was always getting the faster laps because
Danny was punching
Yeah.
the hole in the air. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing as well was, didn't Danny Rick sort of suggest that because it was fucked, wasn't it, in the first place, using an extra set of tyres?
Yeah, because he was struggling
Yeah.
with the tyres, and by Sunday,
Yeah.
the only new set he'd got left was a set of softs.
Yeah, and he sort of suggested, I think, in an interview that although the thing is, like next weekend, for instance, at Silverstone, it'll be Danny Rick that's out of the garage first. They alternate it.
No, it'll be Verstappen that's out first that's punching the hole.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. They alternate it race by race. But Ricardo was suggesting, well, because he was already on the back foot, it would have leveled it out if he'd have just been given one go in front with Verstappen in front. And
I think I've got sympathy with Red Bull here. If you've got one driver who's a bit hampered for race strategy and things
Yeah.
like that, give the other one the best shot.
oh yeah, I think I wonder whether this would have been such a massive problem if there wasn't contract talks going on as well.
And also, I don't think this would have been hushed up so much if Max Verstappen hadn't won the race.
Yeah. I think it would have been interesting
Because it's one of those in it all's well that ends well when Verstappen crosses the line in first place.
I think if it had been a 1-2 with Danny Rick in second, then
That
we
might
might
have-
still be hearing
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Well, we are because we're talking about it, but
Would have been hearing the things that we were hearing Saturday afternoon and Sunday lunchtime up to the race start.
Yeah.
They'd have still been going on now.
If it wasn't for the for Danny Rick's to failure, it would have been interesting because I know that there's definitely a listener who I speak to on Twitter quite a lot that'll be swearing at the podcast now when I say this. But Danny Rick does tend to be quicker than Max Verstappen, especially at the end of races.
It's just, yeah, I know what you mean, but I mean, it's just so unlike Danny to lose his shit when.
No, yeah, but I just mean over the course of the race.
Yeah.
I wonder, I wonder what the result would have been if he hadn't had that failure.
I think that Verstappen would have had the advantage of being at the front of the race. So not following, easier on the tyres. Danny Rick probably wouldn't have been able to
close
catch
it
and
in.
pass.
No, they'd have gone over the radio, multi 333, and nobody would have had a clue what to do.
Yeah.
But if that deal's not done, there'd have been a brave, and they really want to sign him, there'd have been a brave man to say you can't attack.
Should we talk silly season?
We could talk silly season, but let's just go through our predictions. And
Okay.
who did
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
who did what?
I can't even remember.
Because
We were all rubbish because
think
none
I
of
was
us put a
very
Red
wrong.
Bull on the podium.
Yeah.
well, you had Alonso, Stroll, and Sorokin again. I changed yours when I got home last week.
I didn't.
Somebody tweeted in with that.
Changing me.
Somebody tweeted in with a prediction during the race: Alonso, Stroll, and Sorokin, and then put "believe in Lee."
Changing me predictions around, trying to steal a total shunt off me. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a coup. I'm the producer. I shouldn't even be trying to mount a coup. I should just be telling you what you're meant to be doing. So we have the top three of.
You get a fucking sharp answer.
I'll just edit you out. That's all right. Do you know you're going to sound like a duck this week when I've mixed it?
Okie dokie.
We had a
Let's
top.
see how long you're knocking on the door next week.
I'm taking the desk with me, by the way.
No, you're not.
Top three of Verstappen, Raikkonen, and Vettel. So, Chris,
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton,
No.
Sebastian Vettel,
Yes.
1 point. Carlos Sainz,
No. I thought Renault were going to have a really good race.
1 point in total. Dan, Lewis Hamilton,
No.
Daniel Ricciardo,
No.
Carlos Sainz,
No.
So not even a point scorer.
not even a
No.
point. Lee, Sebastian Vettel,
Yes, he was on the podium.
Kimi Raikkonen,
Yes, he was on the podium.
Lewis Hamilton,
No.
Ooh.
2 points.
Not bad, though. All right.
Twice what I got, Lee.
Yeah.
Me, Lewis Hamilton,
No.
Sebastian Vettel,
Yes.
Kimi Raikkonen.
Yes. 2 points.
Yes.
And Sean?
Sean, Lewis Hamilton,
No.
Sebastian Vettel,
Yes.
Max Verstappen. Hang on, I'm reading the wrong ones. I was reading China. I'll just mark that.
You're reading China.
I was reading the China results. I was thinking that's looking wrong. Right, Chris. Hamilton, Vettel, and Sainz, 1 point.
Yay.
Dan,
This is correct. This is what you just said.
Hamilton, Ricciardo, and Sainz. In that case, this page has gone wrong.
How can a page of a notepad go wrong?
It isn't. I'm doing it off the website. No, you both predicted Sainz on the podium in China as well. That's why I thought it was the right one. Lee, Vettel, Hamilton, and Verstappen.
Oh.
2 points.
Still get me 2 points.
Yeah. Me, Hamilton, Bottas, and Vettel. And Sean, Bottas, Hamilton, and Raikkonen. I was reading the wrong list.
You fool!
Basically, yeah.
Heat exhaustion.
So what does that do to...
What does that do to the table? I'm now on top with 27. Dan, you're in second with 25. Chris in third with 22. Lee, you are starting to catch up. You're on 18. And Sean, the only journalist here, is on 15.
Maybe I'll do a Lewis and have a good second half of the season.
Well, we've got a Silverstone preview to go as well, so
Yeah.
there'll be predictions on that. But yeah, the silly season.
I think Kimi Raikkonen performed well at this race because he's been allowed to go and explore options elsewhere after being told he is not going to be retained by Ferrari at the end of this year.
Yes. We are going to see Charles Leclerc moving up to the big boy team. Everyone's saying, oh, what kind of contract are Ferrari going to offer him?
2 years,
exactly
apparently.
the same one that
Yeah.
he's got now,
Yeah.
because he is a Ferrari driver that they have put in
Grown. He's Ferrari's Hamilton.
Sauber. Yeah, they've grown him in a test tube.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leclerc in a Ferrari. I don't think it'll be a straight swap, and I don't think we won't be seeing Kimi moving to Sauber
No, I think Kimi Raikkonen is going to move to McLaren.
alongside Lando Norris.
Yes.
If anyone's going to be in the second Sauber that's on the grid this year, I think that's going to be Stoffel Van Dorn,
I think it'll be Antonio Giovinazzi.
who is still on the books of Ferrari. He is the official test driver.
Yeah, I think Giovinazzi will...
No, he's the reserve driver.
but I think Giovinazzi will be back in the car anyway.
Yes, they've got about 19 drivers. I mean, Marc Genet is still a
He's one of the
development
two
driver.
test
Yeah.
drivers.
I was
No, the
just gonna
development driver is Kvyat.
Yeah, they've got a fleet, haven't they? They've got a fleet of old drivers.
who all look uncomfortable in suits.
yeah.
I don't think Mercedes will change. I think that's Hamilton Bottas.
I don't think Mercedes will change for the next 2 years, because I think Lewis is going to sign that 2-year deal. And if he goes on further than that, it will depend on what he feels like doing this time in 2 years' time.
Do you
honestly-
not think they might bring Russell into the main team at some point before 2021 to give him a bit of experience with Hamilton alongside him.
Depends how he gets on at Force India next year.
Yeah, it depends how he does at Force India next year when I think Perez will move somewhere else.
I think Perez might end up at Sauber.
Perez in the Sauber.
Yeah, I think Perez might end up at Sauber.
I don't think Perez is going to go anywhere. This is. I think Mercedes have got a tough choice to make because they're not going to replace Bottas with Ocon because Bottas is doing a better job, I think, than Ocon would do.
Beginning of the season, there's no way we would have said that Bottas would be retaining a seat.
Absolutely.
But
We-
Bottas
we-
has fought his way into it.
I think by 2 races in, we were saying Mercedes are possibly going to have Ocon in the car next year, but that is not going to happen.
Well,
now.
like I said, I think for Ocon to get a sniff of that seat next year, he needed to grab Perez, throw him out of the house, and lock the door behind him, and he just hasn't done it. He hasn't put him to bed at all. They've looked very equal, and if they look equal, Perez does not look like a Mercedes driver.
And therefore, neither does Ocon.
Yeah,
I don't know, because Perez and Hulkenberg were pretty evenly matched.
yeah.
Hulkenberg is pretty good driver.
Yeah. But
good, solid, would make a good number 2 at a big team.
I'd go as far to say is that he's like I keep saying he's German Jensen Button. Like
Yeah.
if in the right car, I think he would have a chance at a world championship. I don't think that Perez.
No, I don't. But I think as drivers, they're about equal quality. Perez has obviously managed to get the podiums, which
Yeah.
Hulk never did. That's because he can pull something out of the bag sometimes. But I think Hulk has the consistency.
Yeah,
But if you say Perez and Hulkenberg are roughly the same.
yeah.
Hulkenberg could be a number 2 driver at any of the big teams. Perez and Ocon, I would say, are evenly matched.
I think but that's what I mean. But I don't think he looks like a top tier driver at the minute. That might
So
change.
give him another year in that Force India.
But what-
Maybe alongside George Russell. See how well he does then.
If Perez goes anywhere, I can't see. I mean, if Force India can keep hold of Perez, they're gonna want to do it for all that money that he comes with.
I can't see any options for Perez to move into a team more likely to win races.
No, I can't.
No.
The only thing there would be how much of a carrot would Mercedes dangle in front of Force India to bring George Russell in, because if they would give a engine discount
Or a technical
partnership that's worth more to the team
Yeah.
than Perez brings in sponsorship, then you've got to look at it, because it may well be that Mercedes have to do something with George Russell next year, because there's a damn good chance he could be F2 champion.
Yeah.
I think they're more likely to let Ocon go and bring George Russell into Force India.
I
and
think that.
leave Ocon to fight his own battle than they are to
Leave
force
George
Perez
Russell
out
in
of
the
the team
wilderness. Yeah.
or leave George Russell out.
No, I think the same as Paul. I think Perez could be on his way out, and I think the Force India will be Ocon and Russell next year.
But you talk about a team which doesn't even know who its owners are going to be. So the last thing
That's what I mean. I don't think it's the last thing they want to do. I think the Mercedes tie-up or the amount that they'll save with having maybe even 3 engines from Mercedes by having 2 young drivers in the team, that will be enough of, like Paul just said, a carrot dangled in front of them to be like, shit, can we really afford to do this? We're going to have to do something, otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. So, yeah, all right, unfortunately, we're going to have to ship Perez out, because BWT is not a Perez sponsorship.
No.
BWT has come through Mercedes, because they also sponsor the Mercedes DTM car.
Yeah.
And one of the Porsche Super Cup cars as well.
It's an Austrian team with an Austrian driver. I think that's just purely Austrian
Yeah.
owned and managed.
Here's another one. When was the last time Mercedes talked about Ocon?
He still turns up in Mercedes gear every now and again.
Yeah, no, but like where last year when like Ocon looked better than he did this year, I think. Toto Wolff always talked about Ocon. He was always brought up whenever there was talks about seats. Even when Bottas was signed, he spoke that they'd weighed up their options between Ocon and
Wehrlein.
Bottas.
Yeah, I was going to say, Wehrlein is a perfect example of a driver who maybe could have got a Formula One seat, but just didn't.
But that's the thing. I think Ocon feels a bit Verline at the minute.
So Mercedes, a new meat grinder team.
No, because I think they're only the meat grinder team when they don't allow when someone's not allowed to show what they can do. I think 2 years in Formula One, you can get a pretty good idea of what's going down.
So who are you saying for Force India for next year then?
But George Russell,
And
Perez.
Russell and
I'm
Perez.
Russell and Perez.
Yeah.
Mercedes will let Ocon go because they don't need him. They've got
Yeah.
Bottas and they've got Russell.
Yeah. You've only got 2 cars. Do you know,
Yeah.
if they re-sign Hamilton, there's only 2 cars in the main team. The other thing that you might think is I'm not going to put it past Mercedes buying Force India, because Mercedes have spoke in the past about having their own like junior team.
Yeah.
Ferrari seem to have 2 now. So I wouldn't put it past that. But the thing is, do you eat the cost if you're Mercedes, or do you keep the Mexican guy with all the sponsorship? And that sort of,
No,
you
not
might
only
as well have
sponsorship,
something
but
back.
experience.
Yeah, but that's a good point. That as well. You don't want to you don't want a team with very like, mind you, I suppose Ocon will be onto his 3rd season then, but Perez is definitely more experienced. What do you reckon?
I don't know. So who ends up in the Sauber seat? I think it's gonna be whichever Force India driver isn't there next year.
I don't think Ericsson's seat is safe either, because I think he's only hung on to it because of his past ties with the team and some sort of continuity. But I think now that Alfa Romeo has just got this such an overbearing sort of Ferrari presence within the team, I think that they'll probably. They may even pull Verline back in, but Giovinazzi definitely, I think, is
Mercedes
in.
still own Verline, don't they? And it looks like DTM has had a lifeline because they're merging, or practically merging, with Super GT.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a DTM season next year, and two of the races in that will be a mix of DTM and Super GT races.
I
So
still
that
don't-
could be Verline staying in DTM,
Yeah.
which we know he's good at.
Verline's never coming back to Formula One.
No.
Ever. I still think it's too soon to talk about it being a gimme that Kimi is losing his seat with Ferrari. I think you're ignoring the Vettel factor and how in the past Ferrari have always took on board their number 1 drivers like choice and teammates. Kimi's no stress. Vettel likes working with him. The last thing they want is to have a McLaren situation with Alonso and Hamilton.
I don't think Leclerc will be quite there yet.
No, but
Leclerc
he
seems
could
to
be.
be very
Could be.
respectful about
Could
other
be.
drivers.
But he's very respectful when he's trying to get in the team. When he's in the team and he wants to win races, let's see how respectful he is then.
Well, it's Alonso he's being respectful about.
yeah, but no, but I mean, like
But,
once he's
yeah.
in there with Vettel, I think there's an apple cart that could be upset there. And let's not forget, on his day, Mark Webber could match Vettel. He didn't like that.
Red Bull aren't changing, are they?
No.
No. Ricardo Verstappen.
Ricardo's staying. It's too much of a gamble for him. to
Sainz
go
and
anywhere.
Hulkenberg at Renault,
Yeah.
with Sainz as a full Renault driver rather than an on loan Red Bull driver. I mean, I could possibly, if Ricardo,
with no strings
Exactly, yeah.
gold. Well, yellow.
if Ricardo does leave Red Bull, the only place I can see him going is maybe doing a swapsy with Sainz, but that all depends on how well Renault develop throughout the rest of the season. Because
Yeah.
I really think that Renault can develop to be to be by far the 4th best team by the end of the year. But I'm a bit worried that they haven't got close to it yet.
Why would you want to go from the 3rd best team where you can win races to the 4th best team where you probably can't for another year? or
Because
so?
Red Bull are going to switch to Honda engines, and it's definitely not going to, at the moment, definitely not going to win you any more races or world championships. Whereas Renault are promising to push forward and maybe have a car ready for a championship in 2-3 years' time.
Possibly,
it's a gamble
yeah.
that could pay off. It could be a button gamble in the whole Brawn thing. Oh, all right, I'll stick around with this new team. I don't really know what's going on because it's the only seat I'm going to get. Or it could work out like an Alonso gamble in that I'm moving, this is going to be amazing, and it just turns out to be terrible.
The only other thing I'd think with as far as Honda going to Red Bull, because Dan, before we started the podcast, I said there's every chance that it could be a nightmare, and you said there's every chance it might not be.
Yeah.
And Red Bull are different to McLaren going with Honda and sticking with Honda because they have a more objective opinion of what they should do because they're running a Honda engine right now in another car. So
And
they've
I think that's a deliberate...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Give Honda a zero pressure year of development where if they're at the back of the grid, they don't have the same spotlight as they did with McLaren.
Nope. They've also got, they came in, it was a disappointment with McLaren. But as we've always said, they came into a McLaren which was also on decline. Some of Honda's embarrassment this year is being sort of brushed away by McLaren still being rubbish.
Yeah, McLaren... did I say this on record or before the podcast started?
They said it on record, yeah, I think.
Right.
Yeah, McLaren.
McLaren are no worse with
Yeah.
or McLaren are no better with the Renault engine,
Yeah.
and Toro Rosso are no worse with the Honda.
I think they're better because you look at where Alonso is in the championship right now. You know, he's regularly scoring points, and he wasn't regularly scoring points with Honda. So they are
They're
a
little
better
bit
off.
better,
Yeah.
but they're not so far down the road as you would
He
expect
wouldn't
them to
have
be.
gone from pit lane to 8th in a Honda McLaren.
That is true.
Yeah. But the big thing with that I can think is Honda have to do better next year with Red Bull because if they now destroy Red Bull, it will be fucking massive news.
Yes, and I think Red Bull must have been confident enough of them next year
Yeah.
to sign.
So yeah, it'll be interesting, but you don't know what you're getting going to McLaren or Renault. You don't know what you're going to get with a Red Bull because you don't know what the engine's going to be like. You do know it's going to be probably the best chassis on the grid.
Well, there's been rumours that 3 different teams have tried to poach Adrian Newey in the last 2 months,
Yeah.
and they've all been knocked back.
Yeah.
So the next year is going to be an Adrian Newey car. Now, if Honda are getting their act together, a good Honda engine in an Adrian Newey car, can't wait.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be the same. But who else we got? Which other team?
Toro Rosso, who's going to be in the other seat alongside Gasly next year?
Fucking no idea.
I'd say Sean Gelael, but I don't know.
I just don't think Sean Gelael will make it to F1.
Nobuharu Matsushita.
I think he needs to win F2 to get the super license points this year.
Oh,
That's not going to happen.
We did Renault, didn't we? We've been through Renault.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to throw in what's his name?
Jack Aitken.
Aitken into the mix because he's been doing there's been a couple of mistakes. Obviously it's F2, and the cars seem to not have a proper clutch.
Which is why they're using rolling starts
Yeah.
up to Hungary.
Yeah. Also, I can't remember. I think it wasn't Bradley. I can't remember who said it on Twitter. So someone tweeted the F2 saying, right, the rolling starts are great, but it was one of our listeners.
Yeah.
But why aren't you doing it like IndyCar? So in the staggered
Two
grid.
by two.
I think it's a good question. That would have made much more sense in my eyes.
Possibly because the drivers aren't used to it.
Maybe Alonso seemed to get on all right with it for his first go, didn't he?
Possibly because it's not how F1 does it.
Yeah. It's probably
Because
but-
everything on the road to Indy does 2 by 2 starts,
Yeah.
and that's what you're aiming for, and that's what you do from when you first move up into American single seaters.
I think it would have had less
if,
backlash.
If we're wrong on this, Dave Daddario, please correct us.
Yeah, I think it would have had better. It would have had less backlash though from people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he should be thrown into the Renault mix.
So you think he's going to get into F1 before Markelov does? also being on the Renault program.
Yeah. I think so.
Markelov, I'm one or two ways on him. He could be the next Verstappen or he could be the next Maldonado.
I think if he was the next Verstappen, he'd be winning races. You know, like, and yeah, I know he
He
has
is
won a
doing,
race.
but,
No,
yeah.
no, but like from pole. You know,
Yeah.
not crazy races.
He's crap at qualifying.
Yeah.
Or something goes wrong when he qualifies, when he's having a good lap.
Yeah.
But he can get himself up into eighth, get pole for the sprint race, and just walk off.
He's Takuma Sato.
The next Nick Heidfeld.
What? Markelov?
Yeah.
No, he's Takuma Sato. He's done a couple of spectacular overtakes.
And a couple of spectacular crashes.
Yeah.
3 in 1 corner on Sunday was pretty.
Oh, it was
good.
tremendous. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. The guy's entertaining to watch, and but out of the two of them, I'd pick Aitken.
So, what do you think he may end up in a Renault?
That's what the theory. There's a seat available.
Sooner or later, Hulkenberg is going to be too old, and whichever team he's in is going to have a young junior driver that they want to invest in. So, you know, it's...
But it actually, at the moment, looks like Toro Rosso are going to have to go outside of the meat grinder to get Gasly's partner next year because they don't have anyone. You're looking at me like there's been a massive announcement.
Yes, they
just
do.
made now.
No, Sergio Sette Camera.
Oh, is he on the Red Bull Junior
He is.
program?
Oh, he's a former member of the Red Bull Junior team.
Yes,
but,
he drives single seaters.
but from his performance this year, I'd take him for Toro Rosso.
Red Bull have another driver.
Who?
Carlos Sainz.
I don't think they'd put
Might
him back
not
in
be
a
up
Toro
to
Rosso.
him. If Red Bull need a driver to put into that car, it's they'll just pull Carlos Sainz if they can't fill their team.
Sainz
with people
already
they
said he
want to.
wants to be a Renault driver for next year, like a full-blooded Renault driver. And Renault has said, yeah, we want him to be our driver for next year
And
as
that's
well.
a lovely love story. But if Red Bull have him under contract and they need him somewhere, they're going to stick him there.
Well, that's
Red
it.
Bull
Sainz
absolutely
is-
can stick him in the Toro Rosso. I think that would destroy his career.
And that's
Sainz is-
you're right though, because Red Bull would have never done that.
Yes, but I think they would be better served by keeping him on as a Red Bull driver and pulling him into the main team from Renault.
It depends how long the contract is signed for.
It's this year. It's up at the end of this year.
But it depends.
He's on loan at Renault, but his Red Bull contract is over at the end of this year.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, well, but aren't we talking that they'd plug him into Red Bull?
If he could get a Red Bull seat, I think is the only terms under his contract that he can go back to Red Bull.
Oh, is it? All right. Okay.
So if Ricardo doesn't sign, he's partnering Verstappen next year.
Maybe. I mean, again, actually don't think Carlos Sainz has done enough this year to get a Red Bull drive.
Not yet.
Yeah, but it was just a thought if he was still under their thing where they can pull him into the Red Bull team, which Toro Rosso is, that he might get stuck back there.
I think at the beginning of 2017, he signed a 2-year deal. Mm-hmm. I said, I want to be in the Red Bull team at the end of this, otherwise I'm leaving. And that's when they shipped him out to Renault at the end of 2017.
Yeah.
With 1 year left on his contract. He's already said this year, as I say, I want to drive for Renault. I don't want to drive for Red Bull unless I'm in the main team.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Is the option Red Bulls or is it Carlos Sainz's?
I'd imagine it's the teams.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, Renault are possibly the only team on the grid
The
who could be
fact-
like, excuse me, Red Bull, you're not having him because we're going to give you all of the millions.
the fact that he turned around and said, "I want to drive for Renault I'll only leave I only want to leave if I can go to Red Bull." The fact he says "want" suggests to me that is not up to him.
Right. I've got it here. This is from motorsport.com,
Go on.
who are actual proper
People.
properly believable. Sainz has been lent out by Red Bull to the Renault team for this season and can be called back for 2019 if the team loses Danny Ricciardo.
Yeah, that's great. But if he can be called back to Red Bull, that doesn't clear anything up. That just means that they have an option on him for next year. So he might be Toro Rosso,
No, they can only call him back to the big boy team.
but that's not what that said. it's still nebulous. There's no answer. There's no real answer.
They can
there.
call him back if they have no Danny Ricciardo.
And look what they did to Kvyat. It's that that
It would be poor form for Red Bull to do that. I don't think it's on the cards.
I don't know. I wouldn't be so shocked.
No, I wouldn't be shocked. But well, I don't think I would be actually. But I don't think it's on the cards for Red Bull to do that to Sainz. I think if they do pull him back, it's to go to Red Bull, not to stick him back in Toro Rosso.
Also, if Honda sort themselves out, Toro Rosso might not be a bad place to be.
Maybe.
Hell ain't a bad place to be.
Anyway, what have we got? Any other news? Have we got more silly season to discuss? Not
Yeah.
really.
Alonso.
IndyCar.
IndyCar.
I think Alonso is going to have his cake and fuck it. And I think he's going to stay in McLaren to partner Lando Norris. And the McLaren are going to enter at least Indy 500 and maybe one or two races more to help him.
There will be several races that Alonso doesn't do in Formula One next year, but
If he stays, yeah.
I think there's a more than 50% chance that he'll stay.
I think, I don't know
I think
if...
he could seat share with someone like Raikkonen.
No.
No.
Because but Raikkonen will want a full-time drive. I think Raikkonen's staying at Ferrari.
I'm not convinced of that yet. It's not impossible,
Yeah.
but I'm unconvinced of that at the moment.
Where? How long is Seb's contract for?
Till the end of 2020, which is what everyone's contract is.
Right.
Because that is when the current Concord agreement runs out.
Yeah.
And
Can't sign contracts longer.
can't sign contracts longer than the Concord agreement runs for. You can only have optional deals for anything after the end of the 2020 season, which is what I can't remember who said that on Sky this weekend on Saturday.
Somebody said it.
It may have been Bob Fernley.
Okay.
So
Well, that silly season is going to be awesome.
If Alonso stays in Formula One and does a seat share with, I don't know who want to do a seat share with him, to be quite honest with you, unless it's Stoffel. And the only way you can stay in Formula One is to do a seat share with Fernando. But then what do you do with Lando Norris?
He's going to be in Stoffel's seat. Stoffel will get kicked back to being a reserve driver, and then McLaren get everything they want as well. They get their what appears to be like brilliant protege in Formula One. They also get him next to Fernando Alonso to learn from. I don't think Alonso will miss quite as many races as you might think he will. He'll definitely miss Monaco.
But he's don't forget he's contracted Toyota to do the WEC season, which doesn't finish till June next year,
I wonder how many of those races clash though.
with IndyCar and Formula One.
this year it was 7.
With Formula One?
With IndyCar.
IndyCar and Formula One clashed 7 times.
Yeah, but WEC and Formula One.
WEC and Formula One.
Is that the super season?
Yeah.
So is that the...
That runs till Le Mans next year, middle of June.
Right. So, but if he... Is the super season the WEC like world championship?
Yeah.
Yes.
So for him to be
Right.
WEC world champion, he has to stay on until
So
Le Mans next year.
so they go, all right, well, it depends what contract he's got with Toyota because...
To race in every WEC race this in the super season.
Yeah, but it depends what options he's got.
He's already said that he's going to race in every race this
They've
in this
even
season.
moved-
He also said he was staying with Ferrari.
Yeah, but Toyota and WEC have altered the calendar around Alonso's availability.
Yeah, but he's won Le Mans.
Yeah, but
He's still going to do the season.
he's still going to do the full season.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I think he'll still be in the. In fact, he'll definitely still be in Formula One because if he's got to do that and races clash with IndyCar and WEC, he's probably better off staying in Formula One because he can finish off his WEC stuff. He can do Formula One and he can race at Indy. Literally having his cake and fucking it.
Yeah,
that means
I
he'll-
think he will be doing some IndyCar races, not just the IndyCar 500.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Indy 500.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because what you might find is, I bet the
And
only
I think he'll miss Formula One races for it as well.
There are only 3 races in this current WEC Super Season between March and June. 24 Hours of Le Mans will not be clashing with IndyCar or an F1 race
Yeah.
because you get half the Indy field racing in the GT class for Chip
Yeah,
Ganassi
yeah.
racing. 6 Hours of Spa, first weekend in May. And 1,000 miles of Sebring, 15th of March. If you look at the 2018 IndyCar season,
I don't think you do the full season.
the races are well. There was nothing that clashed with WEC. IndyCar usually starts second weekend in March.
Yeah.
That's after the Sebring race. There isn't one at the start of May because May is all Indianapolis month.
Yeah.
Because you've got the Indy Grand Prix on the old F1 circuit,
Yeah.
which is usually the second weekend, and then 2 weeks later you've got the Indy 500.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in IndyCar that will clash with WEC. So he could easily do a full IndyCar season and the remainder of the WEC.
Yeah,
Super
but
season.
that means he's leaving Formula One. I don't think he's going to leave Formula One.
I think you will.
I think he's done. I think he wants out.
I think he's too positive. He's too positive when you speak to him. Well, not when you speak to him, when you hear him talk. He's driving too well. It's not like he's in decline.
Said he was staying at Ferrari.
True. No, but no, because he hasn't said he's staying. I'm not saying he said he's staying, but he's driving too well. And the fact that we don't know what he's doing suggests that the decision isn't made.
Oh, he says he's going to make an announcement at the end of the summer break.
Yeah.
We'll know in Belgium.
The other thing is this is the first year with McLaren and Renault, and Alonso has been in Formula One enough to know that you can't you can't do a 1 year deal with a new project.
Yeah.
Imagine how pissed off he'd be if it came together.
Even Mercedes weren't shit hot out of the gate, were they?
Don't get me wrong. I think Dan might be on something with him doing more Indy races, because I still don't. I still think he'll stay under the McLaren banner if McLaren decide to all of a sudden enter Indy like full time.
Which I believe they are doing. Scott Dixon is
Yeah.
signed to McLaren IndyCar, isn't he?
He's signed to Andretti, but he said he'd be open to the idea of signing for McLaren because yay New Zealand,
Yeah.
because he's one of the 8 people from New Zealand.
Right.
So is there any rule against them just throwing extra cars in? Is that okay in Indy? Is it?
Pretty much.
You know, for it's not just Indianapolis 500 because it's special.
Indy 500, you can have 33 cars. I'm looking at this year's list of drivers for IndyCar, and currently there are 40 drivers in the standings.
Wow.
Okay, some of them were Indy only.
What ovals have you got the Indy calendar there? Are there any oval races that are on that don't clash with Formula One before Indianapolis 500?
Let's see. The ones from this year: St. Petersburg's a road course, Phoenix is an oval, Long Beach is a road course. That's the old F1 circuit. Just the one at Phoenix.
Does that clash with Formula One?
Not knowing next year's calendar, that was April 7th this year, which...
Dan, consult your mug.
Which this year would clash with China. But of course, next year's calendar is being more spread out because they're keeping the same number of races but without the triple headers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it came out today that the official Australian Grand Prix Twitter account said they're going a week earlier this year.
Ah.
15th to 17th of March, the week before Stoffel's birthday. So if McLaren are going to fire Stoffel,
They can do it on his birthday.
it'll have to be after the Australian
Oh,
Grand
that's a
Prix.
shame, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't mind betting that he gets his frame into an oval race before Indianapolis. I don't.
That'd make sense.
Yeah, I can't see him doing the street circuits because it's he's here. He wants to win a Formula One World Championship and he wants to do the Triple Crown. Never once has he said, "I really want to win the Indy World Championship." I'm sure he'd like to. It's a World Championship.
I'm
but
not sure he's ever said he wants to win the WEC World
this-
Championship, but that's not stopping him.
He's just going to do that by default. By the looks of it.
You know, he wanted to win. He wanted to win Le Mans. Well, he also won the 6 hours of Spa.
Yeah, that's true. But I just don't think he looks like he doesn't want to be in the position he's in. I'll totally agree with that. You know, he wants to be in a car that's capable of winning races. But he wants to be in a car capable of winning races in Formula One, and he's not going to do that from an IndyCar.
Anyway, do you think we've talked enough about Alonso this year?
Absolutely.
Can we have the rest of the year as an Alonso-free zone?
I don't know. I wouldn't imagine so.
So, Jenson Button then joining the Sky commentary team for the British Grand Prix this weekend. Right, we're done with that now.
Yeah.
Christ, we ought to preview.
But we're not done with the British Grand Prix. I had a segue.
What did you do with it?
Ran out of battery and I lost my charger. That one fell off a cliff. Too soon?
Too soon.
So
I'm waiting.
you got a long wait, mate. So British Grand Prix this weekend, and we're not going again.
Nope.
Unless somebody out there wants to take us.
Yeah, if anybody wants to take all 5 of us, then we'll quite happily go.
You've been
Can't-
off
I'm
from
going to the
blog
theatre
jobs.
on Saturday.
No, I said we'll blog for food.
Yeah, it's a blog job.
3 DRS zones in Silverstone this year, and the new one is on the start-finish straight, which also means
Too short.
drivers can take turns 1 and 2 under DRS. Because the first 2 corners can be taken flat out.
Yeah, but then which means because DRS is until the first braking zone, is it not?
Yeah. First braking zone or backing off, according to Charlie Whiting this afternoon.
I predict that DRS zone will be in force until Grosjean puts his car in orbit.
Until Grosjean starts to take the old Silverstone. Yeah, forgetting that there is now a museum on the track at Bridge.
Yeah, that could be that could go one of 2 ways.
No, it's going to go one way. There's going to be a massive accident.
No, it'll be one way for 19 drivers, the other way for Grosjean.
Yeah. Yeah. DRS is quite separated, isn't it, at Silverstone? Usually it's on the Wellington Straight after turn, whatever it is, 4. The main straight down towards the old last corner.
Yeah.
And then you've got the hangar straight as well. So you've really got to stay in touch for the whole lap, basically, to make use of DRS. Very much a power circuit, very old school, on an airfield. First race of Silverstone was 1950, was it? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Well, first Formula One race. It's one of the original circuits. It's nowhere near the original layout of the original circuit. But it's good fun. Silverstone, it's touted as the home
1948.
of 1948. It's touted as like the home, isn't it, of Formula One? It's not really, because Aintree is, but we'll ignore that.
And France had the first Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But apart from
it's a
all
nice circuit.
apart from all the other homes that Formula One's got, this is one of them.
Yes. Yeah. Much like Monza and Spa. It's one of the classic tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't designed by Herman Tilke.
No. Not even the new infield section was, I don't think.
No?
More
So-
importantly, it's the only media centre we've ever been in.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're a bit posh.
Well, Silverstone, isn't it? BRDC.
Yeah, although I do have complaints about the doors to the media centre. They are so badly earthed.
Static.
Because I was getting static shocks every time I went outside to either look at a car.
But you were getting
Get some
static
fresh
shocks
air.
all weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really weird.
I get really bad static shocks. It didn't help when I had that the massive one that arced about 4 inches from the door handle to my hand, which I will admit hurt quite a bit for about half a second. And I'm standing there in front of the doors of the media centre at the Wing Building in Silverstone, having a massive swearing fit, turn around, I'm face to face with Ted Kravitz.
How pissed off would you be when the terrible day comes and you pass on into the rest of the universe and you're given all the knowledge of everything, you find out you've actually got fucking superpowers and you never noticed?
I think what'll probably be worse is if I have some kind of cardiac arrest and they have to use the paddles on me and they bring the paddles within 3 feet of me, they see the arc, it's like, we haven't switched them on yet. Oh, he's doing it himself.
They just do, yeah. And there's a fucking mushroom cloud.
I actually send the current the wrong way and it charges them.
It's the paddle equivalent of crossing the streams.
Anyway, British Grand Prix.
British
call.
Grand Prix.
The weather's actually looking pretty good, as you know, sat here in the Isle of Man sweating my balls off.
Yeah.
I know at Wimbledon they were saying it's going to be over 28 for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
Silverstone should be pretty warm.
I just looked at the weather forecast as well. I didn't look at it, turn up on my Twitter, and the weather report was saying that this weather can be expected to hang around for another 2 weeks.
Right, I'm looking at the official Met Office weather forecast for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's going to be between 25 and 27 degrees in real
no
terms.
rain.
And no rain predicted
Yeah.
at all.
For people to know, in
No
British
rain
terms,
forecast.
that's fucking warm.
That's maybe,
And also-
maybe leave the tea standing for 5 minutes before you drink it.
Yeah.
No rain forecast, I'd just
No
like to point
no
out.
rain forecast. Which is what they said a couple of years ago when they had the massive downpour on the grid, and all of a sudden no one knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Thunderstorms to the southwest, which are very far away from Silverstone. They shouldn't reach Silverstone. What we're gonna do? We're gonna go straight into predictions because
why not?
Just for the benefit of anyone living in the 19th century, 25 degrees is 77 in Oldmore
yes,
and Americans.
yeah, because I mean 0 is like what ice freezes at. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What ice forms at, what ice becomes ice.
yeah, ice is already frozen.
Yeah.
Right.
Water becomes
Predictions.
ice at 0. Predictions. Let's go.
Welcome to Physics with Chris.
No, not
right.
physics with Chris. I hate science. Move on.
I'll give you.
Luddite.
I will give you Sean's predictions first.
Religion.
She is saying Vettel, Hamilton, and Verstappen.
I'm going to say Hamilton.
You're going to say nothing until I've opened notepads.
I'm going to say something before
calm
Chris,
down.
because otherwise Chris gets in first and says exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's your
Stan's
turn to go first. So you're saying Hamilton.
Hamilton,
No, yeah, you're going to say nothing until I can't listen.
Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel. It's going to be back to normality.
Right. Okay. Who is going next?
Me? I go Hamilton, Raikkonen, Ricardo.
Right. Lee.
Ricardo, Hamilton, Verstappen.
Ricardo, Hamilton, Verstappen. And I am going to say Hamilton, Verstappen, Vettel.
Yeah.
Because
Also,
if Mercedes don't break down and also Britain, Hamilton's just going to walk it, isn't he?
no, because Christian Horner said before the Austrian Grand Prix that the new Renault upgrade has done them really well. He said it's kept us in the fight here, but we don't expect to see the real benefit from that until Silverstone. And they were pretty fucking rapid.
Well, they won.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they see even though even that when Hamilton was ahead of Verstappen was keeping him honest around a power circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heroes and villains. Oh, we did have one nomination for villain for Austria. TV production. There were overtakes, but we didn't get to see a lot of them because of the whoever was producing or directing.
Also
the
a
World
nomination for
CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's the villain.
God, the
the
Heineken
star.
stars, the iffy
The,
looking
the
F1
big F1 logo,
Yeah.
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 We had a nomination. I think it was from Kevin Barry. The live points during the race. You know, as if like nothing could change before the end of the race.
Yeah, but that's always happened.
It's-
You've always had
Yeah,
that.
you've always had live points. You have live points during football matches.
Yeah.
You have live points during tennis. You have live points during every sport. So live points as things stand in
It's-
Formula One is
it's
just
just a thing.
as it is. Yeah.
It's just a thing. I think we're more used to this because other sports that we have over here, the league tables are based on point scoring throughout the season. And I think Kevin's from the US, and what they're used to is the team with the most wins in their conference as part of the division, as part of their league, as part of their half of the sport,
Yeah.
finishes on top.
He clearly knows what motorsport is, though. They're known for their championships and such.
Not as bad as somebody I saw complaining. I think it was on Reddit
Yeah.
complaining about the Sky commentary this season, where they said can't get used to the Sky commentators. They're absolutely no good. What's wrong with our homegrown commentators like Lee Diffie and David Hobbs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Everyone to their own. The other thing is, well, if he is American, I mean, you watch an Indy race, you've got to be fucking Rain Man to understand the stats that are going along that screen. And then if it's not confused enough, you get a Budweiser advert to keep you occupied.
That overtake was brought to you by Chef Boyardee.
Anyone seen the highlight from the NASCAR race this weekend? Apparently Kyle Busch won by deliberately driving whoever was in front of him off the circuit into the grass via the wall. Apparently that's legal. So rubbing is racing and wiping someone out is winning.
Rubbing's only racing when you leave the door open.
Crashing is safety.
Right, heroes and villains. Hero will be Daniel Ricciardo for winning the race in his quick Red Bull, and the villain will be regulations because they're going to fuck something up.
Hero is going to be Lewis Hamilton for me because don't forget he hasn't got an agent or a manager, and he's negotiated that new contract that he's going to announce at Silverstone in front of the British fans.
Because they're the best in the world.
Because they're the best in the world.
Right.
Villain is going to be the British fans for not being the best in the world, just in case Hamilton doesn't win.
Yeah, I was going to say villain British fans for either booing something, a successful other driver that's not Hamilton, or just generally being a little bit British about things. This isn't going our way. Let's boo. And I'm going to say hero, as is quite often the case, Fernando Alonso for finally redeeming himself to the British fans. Because they still treat him badly after that season 11 years ago now with Lewis Hamilton for a decent performance at the British Grand Prix, entertaining, I'll say. And if he does retire, he'll do what he did at Canada last year and just go and sit with the fans, maybe even just have a beer.
I reckon heroes.
You can't have a beer, we're running out of CO2. You can't have fizzy lager anymore.
Flat beer. Well, that's all to do with environmentalists, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that was just some moron.
In joke.
I reckon hero's going to be Hamilton because home race, he'll do the crowd surfing thing again. It'll all be
best
wonderful.
fans.
Best fans, yeah. Villain, I'm going to have as the drunk Dutch fans and the drunk English fans who kick off the world's first Formula One riot.
Dan's got insider info.
I can't imagine there's going to be anywhere close to as many Dutch fans in Silverstone as there was in Austria. I don't think there's going to be a Max Verstappen village in the campsite there. Feet 20,000 Dutch fans. Did you see the photos that we got?
15,000 campers.
15,000 camping, 5,000 turned up for the day.
Crazy.
And Bjorn Vondenhoff sent us some photos from the Max Village. There's some video as well that I've not posted yet of the after party,
There's going to have to be a Dutch
which
Grand Prix.
apparently
at
is
this
still
rate again.
going on.
There'll have to be a Dutch Grand Prix again at this rate.
Well, I think all the Dutch motorsport fans had to get out of Holland because it was the Dutch MotoGP TT this week. So they'd been taken over by all the Rossi fans.
Yeah. So they had to go somewhere.
So they had to go somewhere else. So they went to Austria. So where did everyone from Austria go?
Italy, because it was empty.
Could Aston be a Formula One track?
Too narrow.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nearly too narrow for bikes.
Yeah. Right.
It's. I think Formula E took one look at it and went, "Ooh, might be a bit narrow for us." Zandvoort apparently is looking at getting an upgrade to Grand Prix status again,
But it's too short a
interesting.
circuit.
but there's extra land that they can extend the track into. So we could
Much
see.
shorter than Austria, is it?
but it's probably about the same.
They're going to have to change Austria within the next 5 years because that is going to be too short.
Yeah.
Whilst
the Red Bull ring is a shortened, slightly updated version of the A1 ring, which is a shortened version of the old Österreich ring.
Also,
Now, had they kept the old layout of the Österreich ring, which they can't now because of the concrete walls were so close to the track, so they had to bring the track in closer, then maybe a lap round the old Österreich ring would probably be closer to 115, 120 maybe.
Also, I mean, it's fucking hell. I don't really know why we talk about this, to be fair, but I wouldn't take away
Because
the
we're a
chance-
podcast, we talk about things.
Yeah, I wouldn't take away the chance of Formula One cars slowing down in 2021 either.
Possibly.
If
We'll
they want them to race each other easier, I think that's going to be the only way forward to do it.
Possibly. You got total shunt to hand?
I have one.
Can't even see the guitar in the room now. Is it?
It's gone.
It's axectomy. Right. Who is this one from?
This one is by our good friend and OG listener, Mr. Michael Cohen.
Michael
Hey,
Cohen.
Michael.
Coming to us all the way from the 7th of August 2017.
Michael Cohen, who has been around since about show 5, I think.
Yes.
And this
something like
is
that. Yeah.
number 163.
Yes, so
Absolutely.
might be a bit late, but 10 months later, we're getting on it.
Yeah, I've got lots of them.
Yeah.
I was born
Yes, Michael. Well done.
Might be nearly a year old, but still starting it properly.
in 1988.
Okay, so 30 this year.
I'm cited as a pioneer.
Right, okay.
A 30-year-old pioneer.
Who could possibly not be a driver.
It could be a thing.
Could be a thing.
The lowest I've ever placed is 6th. I want to guess.
Ooh. Okay, so something from the late 80s. Never finished lower than 6th. The safety car.
Something from the late 80s. I can't think of anything that would have been around then that's either still around now or you wouldn't have placed any lower than 6th, because it got banned very quickly. Because all the cars I can think of that got banned quickly were 70s cars.
Yeah.
The Brabham, the Tyrrell,
The Williams.
the Williams, the what was the car? Was it the Matra? This one with the stupid airbox.
Yeah, the two-winged Ferrari.
Yeah.
Two rear wings next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the statement never finished lower than 6th. Was that never finished lower than 6th? Was that the exact?
Where am I?
We're looking at a team that
Well,
was...
no, I said that. It's actually worded. I have never placed lower than 6th, not counting DNFs, obviously.
So that could be all sorts of things. Active suspension.
The points.
When did they change it to 10 for a win?
About 86, 87, I think.
Maybe 88.
Maybe.
Gonna have to hurry. You're taking a long time with
So
the
10,
guess.
10 points for a win.
10 points for 10
Yeah.
points for a win.
Because 10 points now is 5th place.
Yeah,
Right.
right. 10 points for a win. First guess.
I have an exceptional size nose.
Alain Prost.
Grosjean.
Or a car with a massive nose.
Car with a massive nose.
Which car had the bulbous nose on it?
The Williams Walrus.
What was the first year that the Concorde Agreement was implemented?
Before 1988.
Damn.
See what you did there. Yeah.
No, was there a nose that was super wide that then got banned in the late 80s or anything? I can't think of one.
I mean, 88 was...
It's turbo era, isn't it?
That's
Early
the-
turbo era.
Yeah.
Should we go for another clue?
I think we'll need another clue.
I've only retired from 4 races.
And every other race... It's going to be the Honda Turbo.
Modern day Honda Turbo has finished lower than 6th.
The old
many
school Honda
occasions.
Turbo.
Could be. McLaren and then Williams and then McLaren again. No, it was Williams and then McLaren, wasn't it, with the old Honda? It was McLaren Tag and then McLaren Honda.
I'm sure there was Tyrrell for a year in there as well.
Yeah, it's the original Honda turbo engine, I think.
Should we get another clue?
Yeah, I'm sorry about this clue because it's not going to help you at all. I was the fastest on the grid.
So, yeah, okay.
Which
The original Honda turbo
the original
engine.
Honda Turbo was fast.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Is that clue 6?
Yeah, original Honda Turbo. I'd like you to clarify what that means.
The Honda Turbo engine that powered the McLaren and the Williams to all those higher than 6th
Oh, right,
places.
okay. So yeah, so I didn't know what you meant. Right, okay.
The 80s era turbo Honda engine.
I've achieved pole position 15 times.
This is doing nothing to change my mind on that.
That would also be the McLaren MP4
It would. Did it have a big nose?
Not really. I mean, in comparison to today's cars, the top of the nose was quite wide. But
Who was driving it?
Prost and Senna,
What's Prost got?
big nose.
Are we
Senna
thinking
also
about
had-
the wrong sort of formula? No, that doesn't work.
The MP44 was an 88 car.
I was thinking because the big nose clue doesn't quite sit right with the Honda Turbo.
Yeah.
So is there some other kind of car?
But if it's the MP44, it had a big nose behind the wheel.
It did have a wide nose at the top of where the cockpit is. It's quite wide in comparison to today's cars.
Yeah.
I think it's the MP44.
Yeah.
From the word go, I was very. Where's the words? From the word go, I was very fast. Sorry, I'll word that better.
From the word go, go, go.
Hang on, let me do something. From my debut season, I won 15 out of 16 races.
It's the
It's the
MP44.
MP44.
Yeah. You can drive me if you pay for it.
Yeah, about £1 million or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, but it's also paid DLC on F1 2017.
And Forza Motorsport.
Aha. How much did it cost you for Forza?
I don't know.
I'm assuming you've got it.
I don't know because I rarely buy the car packs on games.
I just thought you'd have bought it because of that one.
No. I'm part Japanese.
Are you the MP44?
I am. Well done.
Yes.
Method of deduction, but we got there in the end.
Well,
actually.
I fucked it slightly because I was trying to, because that question, sorry, that clue, which was I won 15 out of 16 races in my debut season, I thought was too easy, but I couldn't think of a better way to word the question, so that's why I tripped up over it a bit.
My first year, I only didn't win once.
Yeah,
It's all right after the event.
yeah.
No, that was a really good one, Michael.
Nice one, Mike.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
And I know you sent this in nearly a year ago, but great to hear from you again.
Yeah, get in touch soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
Definitely.
make sure people send more in as well because I'm not going through a list from August. It's not like you're gonna have to wait another year to get them. I do pretty much just pick them at random because it's just the best way to do it.
And how do they get them into you?
You can tweet me at a total shunt. Send them in a private message.
That's the easiest way to do it. Formula Lead time. Austria in a Red Bull in the dry. And me and Dan found something very interesting about F1 2017 on the PlayStation this week.
Yeah, if you're not in the top 30,000 worldwide, you can't see. You don't appear on anyone's list, even their friends' list.
Yeah. And me and Dan weren't
So-
in the top 30,000. So while we both set times, we're not actually on the list.
I'll have to retrospectively go back now and have a go at it to see, like, because you guys have never not got a time registered before. Just to see if I can do it.
108.250, I think, was the time to beat to get on there.
Yeah.
So that's an indication of how slow we were.
I thought I'd squeezed into the 107s.
No, because there was 108.25. I think 108.250 was about the lowest time that I saw on the Friends leaderboard. Anyway, basically, we both sucked.
Yep.
The other people who got times faster than 107.750 didn't suck because they made the top 20. And they were 20th place was Pete Bull, 19th Timmy Bristow, 18th Nick Patakis, 17th Nick Richardson, a debutant Andy Clucas
Yes.
in
good.
16th place.
I was
work,
just
Andy.
making sure actually he hadn't done a quicker time and I hadn't looked at my emails.
Suwon Wong in 15th, Sam Hyde 14th, Marcus Beecham 13th, Nicholas Carline 12th, Vaicha Camping 11th. Top 10, WEC champion Alberto Roldan in 10th place, Nick Granath in 9th, Travis Parker in 8th, Max Williams in 7th, and I'm going to say it properly this week because his wife sent me an email saying this is how you pronounce our surname,
Oh, please do.
Karl Jarazek.
It is Jarazek.
It is Jarazek. Is that okay, Christina? You were 6th. Ollie Vesely in 5th. Alessandro Popolani in 4th. Top 3. Chris Olby, 106.448. 2nd, Bradley Chambers, 106.165. Handing everybody's arse to them on a plate by almost a second, 105.213 this week, Will Coates.
Well done, Will.
Well done, Will.
Good effort.
That is a
Absolutely
heck of a lap.
demolished everyone. I will get the full list of times and the current standings up on the website, but at the moment, because you are playing for prizes this year, because Joshua Kaiser has offered a couple of pieces of artwork.
Oh, nice.
Our favourite motorsport artist.
Yeah, his stuff's so good.
We share enough of his links. If you want to follow him, just go back on our Twitter feed and you'll see loads of stuff that we've shared on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, if he's got a website or anything that he sells stuff on, if he can tweet that and tag us in that, we'll be more than happy to share it and stuff.
Yeah,
for him.
definitely. But I would say definitely our favourite motorsport artist at the moment.
So, what's the Silverstone Formula Lee?
Well, Lee will have to decide.
Silverstone in it. We've had all the British guys, haven't we? We've had all the British teams.
Technically, yes.
Yeah. We had a Renault. We've had a Renault.
Have you used all the cars in the game?
I think
Have you used all the cars so far?
we can't have used all the cars because we've had. This is race number 10. So if I do something like have a look on the website
Since last year. We used them all last year.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
it doesn't matter, does it? And we're not going to use all the cars in that game again because we're going to switch games soon anyway. So let's do it for Silverstone then. Let's do it in a Mercedes.
which I don't think we've actually used since Australia.
Yeah, so we do it in a Mercedes, and then because what I like putting a Mercedes in because it's always nice to see, or at least give our listeners the chance to see how quick they can get to the top of the leaderboard. You know, like globally.
Yeah. Yeah, we might finish in the top 30,000 this week.
Probably not.
Oh, it's going to rain as well.
Nice to
in the rain.
Oh, it's going to be Silverstone in a Mercedes
Yeah.
in the wet. Another 1 week challenge.
Yeah.
So the cut-off is 7 o'clock UK time, 2 o'clock Eastern on Monday, the 9th of July.
Yeah.
Right.
I just realised we haven't had a rainy one for a while, and I'm sick of it being warm. So if I can't have rain in real life, I'll have rain in fake life.
You've been in the Oasis again?
Only at midnight.
Right, okay.
Midnight at the Oasis.
And no more because I'm going to have to start paying royalties.
Bring your lead.
No. No. I'm pressing M. Nearly. Actually, I'm not looking at the keyboard, so I don't know if I'm pressing M or erasing everything. I think that's about it for this week, isn't it?
Sounds good
Yeah.
to me.
Right, we will be back. Qualifying blog on Saturday. We'll be doing the live blog on Sunday, as always. If you want to get in touch, then drop us a tweet at 3 Legs 4 Wheels or
Tweet me at ATalkshunt.
At Flood21.
Dan Dankleton.
and at Pablo100. Email your Formula Lead times through, send them a direct message on Twitter to the 3 Legs 4 Wheels one, or email them to 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. Or you can get in touch on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/3 Legs 4 Wheels. And shameless plug time, we have the Patreon show as well. Half an hour or so of random waffling. Just getting warmed up for the show, although it was warm already when we got here tonight.
Bloody hot.
That you can subscribe to for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/3 Legs 4 Wheels, and everything that comes in there goes straight into the show, and we had bills to pay this last month as well.
We all got bills to pay.
We all got bills to pay, including the show. There was a big bill. Because we're a company, I had to file the annual return. Paperwork and handing over money to the government. And
I don't think people care.
no, but
Thank you, patrons.
But thank you,
Yes.
thank you to all our patrons for subscribing and making sure that we can actually afford to do this. And as always, thank you, Cloud Above, for
Always, thank you.
all the hosting and all the support that you give us.
Legends.
When we say we couldn't do this without you, we really bloody mean that. We'll be back next week, as usual. I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone
Good.
doing anything else next Monday?
Not that I
Not
know
at the
of yet.
moment.
In that
Nope.
case, we'll do a podcast. Right, I'm going to go and watch the World Cup.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you next
Bye.
week. Come on, England.